Greetings, adventurers. Today we're excited to introduce you to a new story, Dark Dice, a horror podcast that blurs the line between actual play and audio drama, where the story is determined by the roll of the dice. 6 adventurers
Hello, friends, and welcome to Journey to the Obsidian Spire, one half of our twin Dark Sun campaigns. Our journey has taken us from Balic, a city-state in turmoil, across the vast desert of the Tablelands, to the snake cult-infested village of Ultaruk, to the mysterious stronghold of House Salaxa, where secrets are the only currency, and then, within an ashen parallel world, the land within the wind. And now at last, to a haunted obsidian realm known only as the Deadland. Our would-be heroes and ambitious politicians have at last something within their grasp that could help save their city from the Yuan-Ti invasion, a series of mind flayer runes capable of forcing shapeshifters back into their true form. But before they can take their newfound knowledge back to Balic, before they can help save their city, they must first escape the Deadland, and to do so, they must fly to the top of the Obsidian Spire in a strange, otherworldly vessel, a spelljammer, captained by an alien being that refers to themselves only as Traveler. And so that's where our story begins tonight, after an uncomfortable night's sleep aboard the ship. Hello, friends, and welcome back to Dark Sun. So, we left off last session with you all pursuing your own individual goals on the ship, coming to a conclusion about what you were going to do next, and then deciding you wanted to take a long rest, you wanted to sleep, and in the morning, you were going to fly off and head to the top of the Obsidian Spire to deactivate this device, this arcane device that keeps all living creatures in this realm trapped here. And if you can deactivate it using necromancy magic, then you'll be able to escape. The Traveler will fly you back to Balic, arm you with the runes that you need to determine who is a shapeshifter and who is not a shapeshifter. And with that in mind, I want to pick up our game today, the next morning. And I want to imagine, after a night's sleep, just where is everybody? What do they look like? Maybe just a little bit of what's going through their mind. And I want to go around in a circle here and kind of touch base with everybody before we begin. So let's start today with Christina. Hello.
Hello.
So,
Do you want me to start? I thought you were going to ask a question. Sorry.
no, I will. Yeah. So, last episode, Christina, you were Laguerre, at least for the most part.
Yeah.
And as Laguerre, how do you imagine their night went? And what do you imagine if we were to, pan in on them in the morning and see what they were up to as the ship starts to stir? How would we find them?
I think you would find her kind of waking up for the day. And of course, she grabs the mirror and looks into it. It's like, I slept amazing. Were you comfortable in there? And just laughing at Akasha trapped inside the mirror. And she just goes about getting ready for the day and just kind of pretty much checking herself out because that's what she does. And she's going to make her way to try to get to the traveler and talk him out of giving them anything that would help them see shapeshifters or understand anything that could possibly be going on that might find
Interesting.
her
All
out.
right. So in the ship, it's sort of imagined in three sections. There's the fore of the ship, which is open air generally, but these blue metal curtains have closed that area off. Within the ship itself, and the deck of the ship, is where you would find the captain sitting on a captain's chair, so to speak, but it's crafted entirely of bones of different races, perhaps from different worlds. And then in the back section of this vessel, which you see here sort of resembles the shape of a snail in a way, is where the sleeping quarters are. And there's no other crew. As the captain has said, he sent the rest of his crew off to the Obsidian Spire, and they never came back. So he's the only remaining of his people currently on this vessel. You would, I guess, Christina, find the captain barely stirring, still wounded, slumped over in that bone chair in the deck of the ship, and he would know that you're approaching. You'd see his long black robe he pulls over his body. He's got 2 legs and 2 arms like a humanoid, but his face is very, very squid-like. It's humanoid in an essence, but with milky white eyes and where his lower jaw should be, just writhing tentacles, some that are wrapped around each other. And as you approach, those tentacles sort of unwrap and unstick from each other with this strange, low-pitched slurping sound. And he turns his head towards you, Laguerre.
Hi. That looks comfortable.
When he's when he speaks, as he shifts around in his chair, the longer he's spoken to you all, the more human he sounded. He still doesn't quite sound like a normal person, but it's changed over time. And he speaks to you, greeting, and says, "I'm injured."
Well, what's the saying? You scratch my back, I scratch yours. And I want to begin to use a healing word and then say, I could heal you. I would really, really love to, actually. But I need you to do something for me.
There's more of that slurping sound. And you can see his long, long fingers wrap around the front of the armrests of this chair they look like thigh bones. And he leans forward a little bit and he says, "What is it you want?"
I remember it being mentioned that you had something that could reveal a dual nature that might be thrown in as a part of us getting out of here. I'd like to make that disappear.
You can see the tentacles twitch rapidly. And then he says, "Why?"
Do you want me to heal you or don't you?
Roll me a persuasion check.
I want to roll this hard. Wait, actually. 24.
I don't need to know your secrets. They matter little to me. But you don't need to worry about the rune. It can't see your secret.
Wouldn't call it a secret per se. Just no one's business.
I too have business that belongs to no one else. You need say no more.
I'm glad we have this understanding. And I will cast Healing Word. And the word is deal.
See how many hit points he gets back.
Past second level.
Okay. So 6 hit points.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, and he stretches his back. You can hear maybe what's vertebrae. It looks like he has vertebrae popping as he stretches up. He squeezes the arm rests of the chair a little bit tighter, and he motions a hand towards the center of the room. There's a floating multicolored orb of energy and light that's been there. He revealed it to you last session, and it floats across the room back towards him, and he holds it in both hands. He says, "I'm ready when you and the others are."
Do we really have to take them?
We do.
Don't you want company here? Fine.
There's another sound. Not sure what it means.
I don't like that sound. Like pasta. Fine, we don't have to leave them here. Even though I could think of many better traveling companions. But I'll go gather everyone.
Very well. I will prepare. And he wraps his long fingers around the orb. They wrap on one end all the way around, and on the back end with the other hand all the way around until they're interlocking. And I want to check in with everybody else and see what they're doing, how they're doing in the morning. Let's check in with Horson. How did you sleep, Horson? How are you doing? And where do we find you this morning?
Horson slept horribly. And I imagine after experiencing shared trauma with Marilla that there would be, because it ended on a pretty big moment, there'd be a lot of conversation, perhaps planning, and like how of what they resolved on to do after their recent discovery to and desire to annihilate the snake people. I feel like there would be a lot of coping, a lot of hard conversations, and then maybe perhaps some storytelling and shared memories and normal shock behavior after emotional trauma. And it depends on how all of that would go with Marilla. If he'd be like huddled alone in the corner, kind of like letting the hate is like 3 pounds of beef, and it's, do you want to put it in an instant pot or do you want to put it in a slow cooker? Welcome to my world of meat analogies.
Let's check in on Marilla then and see how they're doing, and maybe see what this moment, if there's a moment with the two of you, what that looks like then. So, hi Sam. Tell me, since the end of last session, how do you imagine Marilla's night's been? What's going through their mind?
After the conversations and the planning, we did stay up rather late, and honestly I was grateful for it the moment that people started falling asleep and I had to be quiet and alone with my own thoughts. Eventually I fell asleep, I guess from exhaustion if nothing else, and this morning I think I wake up and there's that brief moment of nothingness before the wave hits and they remember. And when it crashes over them, they're going to instinctively reach out to a person. I think from context it sounds like Horson's nearby, trying to get solace.
We'll say in this moment, this quiet moment with the two of you, I imagine that Van's been right there too, with Marilla and Horson, and not really knowing what to say, but just trying to be supportive. At this point in the morning, Van's probably deep asleep, maybe very close, but not awake with the two of you as Marilla reaches out. Orson, what do you do?
I feel like when they reach out, he would still be asleep, so he would be waking up at this time, and then he'd have a lot of experience with that loss since Baru passed, with like the sacrifice and the coming of the massive snake thing, and he would take a second and like realize what's going on. Yeah, hey, how I'd ask how you're doing, but I have an idea.
Well, uh, at least the scenery's lovely.
I mean, subjectively, sure.
It's not really, but thank you for trying.
Yeah, I'm good at that. When I first started training, I would black out all the bad moments, and there's no, you can't erase them. You can't erase the pain. It's soup. You enjoy soup?
Wilson, I'm not new to this. Every single member of my family has been dying one by one for over a year now. I'm just tired.
I didn't know.
And I have no answers. This is the end of a long road.
If you say it is, that's what it is.
I'm glad I'm with you.
Wouldn't want anyone else at my side.
There have to be loads of better fighters to have by your side. You probably know like 50 of them from Gladiator Club.
And maybe they're good at fighting. After what you've been through, most of them would cave. Wouldn't even be here. They'd have quit because it wasn't easy. It's not how hard you hit that can make you a great fighter. How hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
So, huh?
Yeah, soup. So, training, some of my training partners play pranks. Take the hottest peppers they could find from the markets, which were rare, since I was better than them. When I would go to the loo, they would sprinkle some of the hot pepper seeds in my soup. And then I'd eat the soup, and I would feel the heat on my tongue. But I didn't let them see my reaction. That would give them too much joy. So I ate the horribly spicy soup down till it was like 20-30% of the soup bowl left. Went up, got some more soup. No matter how hard you try, you can't get the spice out of that soup. The only way you can make it any better is by adding more soup. Catch my meaning. The soup
I take it
is
back.
like,
I get why you don't want to be with them. That sounds horrible.
It was bad, but it was fun. It was fun. But I guess now you can't throw the soup out to get rid of the pain. You just have to add more soup. Heat never goes away, but tastes better slowly over time.
Wilson?
Yep.
This is making me really hungry.
Me too. I gotta find something else to use for analogies.
No, we've got to find something to eat before we go and do this.
I don't suppose the little dangly face man has a store of food.
Well, want to take a look with me?
Let's go.
So you find yourselves in the back chamber of this ship. And this is, like I said before, a circular chamber with vertical sleeping pods lined up against the walls. And they have these sort of arcane locked boxes above them. It's where you found some weaponry, Marilla, at the end of the last session or during last session. And I'm not going to make you roll for it. You do find what you think might be food. What you find is a series of jars with various neon-colored slimes, and then other jars with the same slimes in them, not empty, these filled with what look like brains of different sizes.
We're not eating that, Orson.
Well, never say never.
I'm
It's
not
not
eating
now.
that.
Okay, well, if we're trapped here for a real long time, I'm going to. I'm not above it.
Oh, may this silt be with you, because I won't.
More
We'll say
for
that
me.
between the lot of you, I mean, you still have your travel rations. It's just you're down. This is like the very, very end of them, and you're in that spot where you're eating half every day to get by, to make them stretch a little bit longer. As the two of you are going off to look for food, and you come upon the brain jars, I want to check in with Ebo. Ebo, how do you think you slept, and what do you think's sort of running through Ebo's mind? How would we find him the next morning?
I think Ebo is probably sleeps weirdly well. Just in the sense of like the previous day was a pretty big day. It was just like back to back to back to back. Like right, once we jumped through planes, like we were rejuvenated in some way, but like mentally taxing as far as having to like both do his magic and also try and get his bearings every time. So wouldn't be surprised if Ebo was like the only person snoring and like making the ship rumble a little bit while he was sleeping. But he's gonna wake up. He's gonna feel pretty sore. Probably gonna stretch out because we're sleeping. It's not like sleeping areas. Like this is like a ship that has a purpose, and I imagine these beings who usually are on the ship don't sleep in regular ways. So, gonna take some time like rubbing his muscles as far as like being sore, laying on like some pretty hard ground. Do we know if it's safe to like just be on the outboard parts of the ship, like the places that are like basically
So,
still on the structure
outside
of the ship, but not like off of the ship?
And so, like, the floor of the ship there, which isn't covered by this curtain, is closed off, and you could probably find a way out to it if you wanted to. It was closed off to protect you
That's
from
right. Yeah.
that horde of undead, which were beating against the ship for a very long time. They were just slamming their hands against it again and again. That sound did quiet down as the horde moved on, unable to get inside. You could probably get out there if you wanted to.
Yeah, I am. I'm going to slowly peek out the veil or the curtain. Let's see if there's any, creatures of concern. If there isn't, I'm just gonna step out. I don't know if there's a sun or anything, but at least I remember there was some element of moving air in this place, even if it's not the best air as far as like dust and sand and not really having a lot of nature. It's just like, I don't know, you just need something to connect to. And being inside the ship and just he wants to get an early start on getting his bearings. Doesn't want to like get outside the ship and then or like fly to where we need to fly and just have to like readjust on the go if you can.
So, slipping out to the fore, the deck of the ship, you immediately feel the heat of the sun. The sun here is as the sun is everywhere else. It's heat only magnified because this land, the dead land, everything's turned to obsidian. You're not sure why, but the ground, the hills, the mountains, the trees themselves have been petrified. They become brittle. In fact, you remember at one point you put your hand on a tree and it caused a chain reaction of trees falling over in the forest and crashing and shattering into shards. And that's what you see outside. The heat, the reflection of the sun off of the obsidian surface is bright on the ground and it's bright from above. You see stretching out in all directions this petrified forest. You do see some shapes shambling there through the woods. You're not sure if they have a purpose, personality, if they're on some sort of endless loop, if they're hunting. You feel the air too. It's hot, but it's air. It's fresh.
Yeah. It's going to take some time to breathe in the air. Just like take a couple deep breaths. I imagine inside that ship might be cold, just for the beings it supports. So I'm going to probably carefully, or put a piece of cloth. Like it looked like there was railing in the picture, so Evo's gonna grab onto the railing. Is just gonna use that as leverage to kind of like stretch out his spine, stretch out his hip, just like very old man getting ready for some ish. So the best way he knows. Yeah, I don't. As far as like emotional energy or communicating to people, I think he said and did what he needed to do, with the people he wanted to, and maybe he's like a little bit exhausted of like, I don't know, just guiding. He just wants to step away for a bit before he has to get put on a more serious tone or like feel like he has to be a little bit more of a guide. Yeah, nothing very special is going on with Ebo other than just some self-care.
All right. There is a moment, probably when you're stretching, like, you look between your arm and your hip as you're kind of stretching to the side, and you see behind you, slipped out of the curtain, is the young wizard Van, who you took to training the night before with Marilla. And you don't know how long he's been standing there watching you, but he sort of gets that deer in the headlights look in his eyes when you spot him. He says, "I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. Are you feeling all right?"
Oh, yes. Sorry, young man. I wanted to step out for a second just to get my bearings. This, it's been a lot. Just from one place to another. It seems like we can never stay in one place, so it's the early part of the day. We get ready. How are you doing?
I don't know, to be honest. I feel like people I care about are hurting, and we've come so far. I never expected any of this. I don't even know really where we are, what's going on. He kind of looks out to this petrified forest, just this vast wasteland of obsidian. I could never have imagined a place like this. I have a pretty good imagination. But I don't feel scared, I guess. I don't know why.
Good. Well, it might be just sensory overload at this point. I feel similar. I think this is something where our brains or emotions need to get a little numb, as it were, because focusing on too much of this, we lose sight and focus of things that are important, which is taking care of one another and getting out of here. If we were to focus on every little thing that seems to want to not make sure that we leave here or survive, it's a lot. So, you're not incorrect. It was not abnormal to feel the way that you're feeling. Of course, you may. It's gonna take a lot of time after this to, I guess in a way heal. It feels pretty numb at the moment, but given some time to reflect and contemplate, this place will feel even more real than it does now.
While you're talking, he just strolls up to the fore of the ship and he puts his hands on the railing and he lifts up and kicks one leg over and sits down on top of it so that he's facing you, not really looking out to the wasteland anymore, but more to you and listening. He says, when there's a pause, my father, I didn't know very well, was, I guess, a preserver, is what they're called. He imagined a world where he could use magic to protect the land. And he did. We had a little garden. I remember that. It's my first memory, that garden, and how much care he gave to that garden. I remember when they took him and the garden died. I couldn't tend it. I tried, but I didn't know what I was doing. I felt lost for a long time. I had friends, but I didn't feel like I made a difference. And then I met Marilla, and I met the Veiled Alliance. And the preservers there taught me more. To me, they reminded me, I guess, not of my father, but they reminded me of what he believed in. That we can grow. We don't have to only destroy. I've just never felt big enough myself to be able to change anything. But I've seen what you can do. It's amazing. And I just want to say thank you for looking out for me and for looking out for Marilla and the others. Thank you for sharing some of your knowledge. I have no idea where we're going next. But I'm going to do my best to make a difference. And if I'm ever half the wizard you are, then I think I'll have lived a good life.
I think you are more the wizard than I am, in the sense that, my ways of growing is more destructive, where your ways is more supportive. And I won't worry about making a difference. You've clearly made a difference, at least in one of our lives, if not that being supporting of all of us. So don't sell yourself short, man. I think, in a lot of ways, you're going to achieve greater things than I will, or will ever have. It is just my duty to pass down my knowledge to people who I think will utilize these magics and gifts for the better, to the best of their ability.
Well, here's hoping. You know, if we get out of this and get back to Balic and everything goes back to normal, whatever it was before, I hope maybe you'll keep giving me some lessons, and maybe I can show you some of what I know too. I'm not the best teacher, but I'd like to learn how to teach like you can.
Of course. Don't believe that saying that old dogs can't learn new tricks, and it's just, I guess, one way that elder people can get away with being a little lazy. Just a tip for you. I would love to learn something from you, and that would be such a great honor.
You can see that there's a conspiratorial smile at that, and he bobs his head and he looks back towards the ship, and he says, "Well, be careful out here. I'll see you inside." He swings his leg over.
See you shortly.
Ebo's gonna stay out for a bit, to the point where he's just like sweating, and he's gonna zone out for a second. He's just going to sweat and watch the sweat like drip off of his face and head and his forehead and hit like the metal parts of the ship, and just watch it dry out, probably for like 20 minutes, just to like not to have to focus on anything for just a moment, or nothing of importance. He doesn't want to look out to the dangers. He doesn't want to imagine where he is. Just for a brief 20 minutes, just watching sweat drop off of his face and watching it evaporate off the metal of the ship.
You lock everything else out, you push it away from your mind, and you focus. And as you do, let's check in then on Dia. So, Charlie, last session, Dia had a lot of the conversation with the Traveler and was given possession of this device, runed with arcane runes that you were able to determine the nature of to an extent that they could, within a large range, a fairly large range, I think it's 600 feet, force any creature that shifts its shape into something else back to its original form. This is the means of which the mind flayers have battled the Yuan Ti throughout different worlds, because they can't infiltrate other systems, other governments, so long as these runes are nearby. You're in possession of this one device that the Travelers told you could be replicated, duplicated. How do you imagine the night has gone for Dia? How do you imagine we find her in the morning?
Dia, when last seen, was working on the embroidery on her scarf. And I think after a while she set it to the side and her expression became vacant, thinking through, plotting, disappearing into that lantern maze in her own mind, as if it were a real place, walking, seeking a plan for her next steps. And as it becomes morning, she reaches again for that scarf and begins to sew a final message into its pattern. Brother, be careful. I'll be home soon. Trust no one. An echo of the message she'd sent before, hoping this time it will sink in, because his response had definitely suggested he hadn't heeded her words last night. And she'll drape the scarf around herself as soon as she is done, tucking away that needle and thread. Barely any thread left on the spool now. She'll need to get more. And I think if there's a reflective surface anywhere around, Don, even if it's like one of the walls of the ship is kind of shiny, do that classic girl thing where she checks her reflection. And I think just visible, because she's run out of her hair oil, the dark roots beginning to show, as she hasn't been able to maintain her usual hair regime. But it's not so important now. And as she notices, she thinks of Taruk. And she wonders again, is this Taruk the real Taruk? Because the last time she'd observed him, he seemed different. But she isn't sure. And that's bothering her. And she remembers the last thing she sewed. Trust no one. And I think she'll expand her listening to try and pick up on any conversation around her, because there's a lot of people here. She doesn't really trust them.
Roll me a perception check, and we'll say, as you wake up and after you check yourself out in the reflective surface of that blue curtain, this chamber is filled with spectral blue light and comes off of these gems that are set into the walls at different points, providing illumination so you can see when a shadow moves in a nearby chamber or when somebody moves within your chamber. You can hear the footsteps echoing the creaking of the wood, because this is, in a way, it's a wooden and a metal vessel, so in some ways it would creak. The floorboards beneath you would creak like wood would. And when somebody puts their hand on a metal wall, you would hear that echoing tap, reverberations. And let's see, what did you get on your perception check?
I rolled a 10, but I do also have far hearing, which means I can focus on a space within 60 feet of me, and until the end of my next turn, I can hear if I am within that space. So I think if she can pick out a voice, she'll focus in on the voice to listen to it.
Yeah, where would she throw her focus? If this is a, let's say, like a radio station and she's hearing different stations, which one does she tune into?
I think there's that moment where she almost pans through the snatches of bits and pieces she can hear. But I think, despite her curiosity wanting to go to Akasha, because there's something strange going on that she can't figure out and is driving her a little around the bend, she actually anchors on Marilla's voice, because this young person is very interesting to her, and they have so much potential, and she's curious where Marilla is falling on the spectrum of what is happening.
So then giving you advantage on your perception check for that specific purpose using your wild talent, your psionics, I think that makes it a 19, which is a little bit better.
9 points better.
9 points better. It's pretty significant, right? I'm going to say that you're able to hear that conversation between Marilla and Horson, at least a good deal of it. talking about how Marilla has lost most of their family over the past year or so, one by one. There's obviously some new sorrow, some new information. There's something that's happened, and their conversation seems to be centered around that fact. And the everything else you hear, the support, the Horson pep talk about how you gotta keep on going, even maybe their surprise at going and looking for food and finding jars of brains. All of that you're able to hear.
I think as they discuss brains, or like the room being strange, I'm not sure they actually mentioned what was in the jars. I can't specifically remember.
I don't think so.
I think like curiosity will be piqued as to what Marilla is reacting so strongly about, and she'll kind of sneak in that direction to go in and have a peek at what they found.
Okay. So we'll imagine that around the same time that Van sneaks back into the deck of the ship, having just had a conversation with Ebo, Dia, you're sneaking into the back, you're moving into the back past the Traveler, who's now sitting holding this orb, fingers interlocked, milky white eyes focused intensely on this orb. You move past them to the room in the back, and there you find Horson and Marilla, who have opened up one of the compartments in the sleeping quarters, and in doing so have revealed several shelves made of an indeterminate material, housing jars. And these are, not like mason jars. They're a little bit larger, and there's liquid in them that seems to glow with a neon light. Some of them are green, some of them are pink, some of them are blue. And some of those jars do contain brains of various sizes. And you can see them there having a conversation in front of this compartment.
What have you found? I think as she takes stock of the room, she makes a decision to address them, to not sneak around anymore. And her posture communicates, I'm entirely entitled to be here. I entirely meant to be here. This is very interesting, and I want to know all about it.
All right, well, let's bring back in Horson and Marilla then, the back of the ship. So there's a couple of doors that lead back to this room, and you're sort of in the back of the room, where this compartment is, and you hear Dia call out from behind you.
Oi, you scared the shit out of me.
Sorry.
You can't just walk into a room full of jars with brains in them and... Ugh.
I wasn't aware there were jars with brains in here.
Right, yeah, right there. And he just gestures with his hand. What?
But whose brains?
No,
And
Is he going to take ours?
They could, I suppose, and hopefully we put up a fight.
Yes! I like them where they are.
Hey, the Traveler's one person trying to make a deal with us, so they're not in a position to either fight us if the first thing out their mouth is trying to make a deal, right? That makes sense.
I bet that's what they thought. And I just point at a jar.
Don't worry, Lux Marilla, I'm sure you're quite safe. And Dia is gonna push almost through them, not super aggressively, but she wants to go and have a closer look and see if there's any way to fathom if these are humanoid brains, human brains specifically, or if it's an assortment of just brains, and if there's any specifically like connectivity. She can almost imagine like brains can be used to power things the same way as you use magic runes to power things and you use psionic power. That's the thought track she's going down. Why would you have a collection of brains? It's a very odd thing to collect.
Okay. Yeah, you can roll me. I'll give you an investigation. I'd give you Arcana. Either one of those.
I'll take investigation. 10.
Okay. So with
Strong
the 10,
10.
I'll let you ask me one question, and I will give you a meta answer. As you're looking at these brains, what is it that you're really trying to determine, at least the bare minimum?
Do I think these brains are actively being used for something? Or is this storage? I guess that's the question.
It looks like storage, the way that it's organized. And investigating the jars themselves, if you were to pick one up and turn it over, sort of metal cap on the what could be an open end to the jar has 3 large circular holes with a sort of filmy material over the holes. You poke at the filmy material, it's not solid. You could possibly poke through. And I'll give you this.
Like a membrane?
The holes, yeah, sort of like a membrane. And if you were to poke through, you could get inside, possibly. The circles at the bottom of the jars, about the same size as those tendrils that hang off at the bottom of the captain's jaw.
Food. Good guess, Marilla. And she'll set back down the jar, coming to the conclusion that the captain must eat these. That's it. That's her final verdict on what's going on here. In some way, he consumes from these brains.
Oh, yeah, food for also potentially us if shit gets bad.
Well, so don't lose your head.
Good advice. Use your brains. And your brawn.
What were you looking for, Miss Stella?
Just curious what was in here.
We were looking for breakfast.
A good idea. I'd suggest not what's in the jars.
See?
Although probably very high in nutrients, possibly not palatable. Not without cooking first.
Yeah, we've got limited.
Have you fried
options.
brains?
Had fried
don't-
sheep's brains.
Fried.
Yes, with some spices. Butter. Onions.
There's a
Can I go
little bit of
find
a
that?
rumble. There's a little bit of a, during this discussion about how you can properly prepare a brain for food, a little bit of a rumble in the ship, and it starts with a jerk forward that causes, for a second you lose a bit of balance, and then it steadies out, but it's still rumbling. You can feel the floorboards creaking and shaking beneath you. The walls are starting to shake as well.
Not as nice as fried bird of... Oh, looks like we're moving.
Maybe we should head back then?
If you like. Or we can continue snooping. And she'll look to the other possible containers in the room.
There are plenty of compartments, all of them locked with arcane runes, and Marilla's now at least opened 2 of them.
With those guests at a party in someone's bathroom, like opening every single cabinet just to see what's in there.
Which I have
Just
totally
started out looking
prepared.
for Leroy.
Totally know everything. All right, let's bring everybody back together here for this. So at this point, everybody is done their morning rituals up to a certain point, and everybody is basically where we left you. The captain who was sitting in the chair holding this orb stands up and stretches up. And for anyone who hasn't seen him when he's standing, he's much taller than what he looks like when he's slumped over on that chair. Taller than Horson, taller than a Thry-Kreen, and almost as tall as a half-giant. And so tall that his head, that squicky squid top, almost presses up against the ceiling of the chamber here. And as he turns in his hand the orb over, it changes its color from multi-hued to a singular crimson red. And that red hue spreads throughout the room. The metal doors, the metal curtains that block the cabin from the fore of the ship slide open silently. There's just a slight, it's almost like a hydraulic hiss. And Ebo, you would notice these doors open up, revealing the inside of the cabin to you as you're outside on the fore. And then the ship comes to life. The blue metal shell disappears entirely, reveals the petrified forest that stretches out in all directions. The wooden mast that's on the fore of the ship psychically unfurls its sail, and its sail is a large white triangular cloth that has painted on it the black insignia of something that looks vaguely resembling of the traveler himself, his face. And a moment later, the deck of the ship begins to rock back and forth. The traveler incants an alien word, and you lift off into the air, leaving the blackened clearing beneath you. The winds catch the spelljammer's sails immediately. The traveler speaks another word of power. And then you're flying. Beneath you, the petrified forest, the obsidian plains. You can see black, jagged mountains and hordes of roaming dead in the distance beneath you. And ahead of you, far in the distance, rises up, stretching higher than the dark hills that surround it, a black tower. From its peak, a bright purple light shoots up into the sky, disappearing in the direction of the sun. And you're flying. And though beneath you everything is monochromatic, dead, a wasteland, the wind that's whipping past you, it cools the blistering heat of the sun. The world beneath is, in a way, it's picturesque. Particularly because I don't think any of you really ever flown before. And though it's macabre, it's also beautiful, too. And this all happens quickly. The ship moves with a tremendous speed, far greater than the speed of your sort of hovering sand ship that you were flying in before, closer to the ground. It lifts off with you all in it, a jolt. The captain stands there, holding the orb. You can all see each other at this point.
I'm going to leave the forecastle and come back into the ship. I just wanted to say the word forecastle because I know it.
I'm suitably impressed.
Where's everybody? I'm imagining they're going, positioning themselves as you lift up and then begin to fly very quickly through the air.
Do we need to strap ourselves in, or is this we good to just stand here?
There's no answer from the captain, but it's a smooth ride. It's a rocky start, first few seconds, but it's pretty smooth after that. Whatever mechanism, whatever magic or psionics or whatever it is that makes this work, it makes it pretty smooth, but there is a lot of wind rushing past you.
And I imagine Horson, never experiencing this before, is like, taking a child on a roller coaster for the first time. So with no harness, so he's like his stance is super wide, and he's like bracing himself and like shaking and looking around like a scared dog. He's like, oh, I guess I'll just die then. Fuck, okay, and just try to like brace himself and be ready for anything.
Come on, Horson. And Dia is going to try and lead him to the front of the ship for some serious Jack and Rose let's fly at the end of the ship.
Does Horson join Dia for a Titanic moment?
How can you not? Why? Who's going to say no to this opportunity? Orson isn't.
You're flying, Horson.
Wait, are you the king of the world, or am I?
We can be king and queen. Look at our minions. She'll regard the armies of dead trolling around down below.
I don't want minions. I'm all set. Thanks.
Fair enough.
I want to get positioning for everybody else too. Where's Laguerre right now?
Laguerre is just in one spot floating along, just looking annoyed.
Do you think close to the captain, in the back of the ship, in the front of the ship where it's more open air?
I'd probably say she's close to the captain so she can keep an eye on it.
Okay. And his eyes at this point have turned from a milky white to dark black. You can see the reflection of the light from the orb bouncing off of his orb. It's the only thing giving it any color at all. And he seems entirely focused on this orb. And occasionally he turns his hands over and he rotates the orb. And you'll notice that as he does so, the ship itself will change directions. It'll swerve as it flies around a jutting cliff and then re-straightens itself out on the other side. It's almost like he's using this orb to steer, to drive, to push this vessel forward through the air. What about Marilla?
For the first few moments, Marilla doesn't really know what to do, and they stand there and holds their balance very well, because they're good at that, if nothing else. But sort of gestures like they don't know what to do with their hands, and starts to edge themselves toward the room that had the ballista. It seems like maybe if something goes terribly wrong, perhaps there should be someone nearby the very large weapon thing. Just a thought, broadly. And so they're hovering in that doorway right now.
All right, yeah, and you remember that if you open up one of the compartments, specifically the one that has the ammunition in it, it also took what looks almost like a floating dining table in the center of that room. What happened before is this table began to spin and it lifted up into the air, and as it did, a platform rose from whatever the deck beneath and had that ballista on it.
And if we don't get into trouble, I don't need anyone to know that I know how to do that, because that would imply some intrusion might have taken place. But if we are in trouble, no one's going to get mad at me for having done it. So I'm holding off on that whole, initiating that whole process for now.
Cool. So as you move to the back of the ship, you'll see across Van, who passes you and is looking out beyond, and it's just he looks dumbfounded, like he's spinning around and pointing at things and just sort of laughing. He's actually loving this. He's very, very heavily in favor of whatever this is, and he sort of gives you an idle wave. He doesn't move to follow you, and then he moves to the fore of the ship where Dia and Orson are as well. What about Evo? Where do you want to position Evo in the ship?
Well, Dia and Horson are having their Titanic moment. I am going to actually just go right back to where I was. I just entered inside for a brief moment to see, what's going on? Oh, we're just taking off, that's all, and everyone's just getting comfortable. So I'm just going to go back to actually where I was, off to the side, not where Ian Horson is. And I don't know if there's any pebbles or rocks around me. I'm just gonna grab a pebble every so often and just chuck it off the side of the ship just to watch it go. I don't know why, but Ebo's just he's zoning out. He's just I guess it's his way of like the calm before the storm, and so he doesn't know if they're about to get into something or not. So he's just trying to, I guess, relax or find his sense of center before anything starts. So it's not like he's doing this to like avoid talking to anyone. His demeanor isn't like shut down. It's just like, I'm just doing my thing over here. So yeah.
Okay, so roll me, Ebo, a perception check.
Sure. Perception. Okay. 11.
One of the stones or pieces of debris, whatever it is, that you throw over the deck of the ship, and you watch as it spins and disappears down below. One of them goes through a patch of wafting cloud. You're now up above, and in the distance you're getting closer, but it's still far away. This massive tower with the glowing purple light that shoots up into the sky, that's the direction that you're heading. But that cloud that you're over top of, that the pebble drops towards, it disappears in the cloud for a moment, which is probably an original sight, something Ebo's never seen before, or probably never imagined being above a cloud, seeing something disappear into it. But for a moment, you see that cloud part, and you see the shape that rises from it. It's entirely ebon. It's entirely made of the same obsidian material that dominates this plane. And it's a large, winged beast, skeletal in nature, a long tail and a long neck and a massive maw, no eyes to speak of, and skeletal wings with a massive span on them. It's very far beneath you, Ebo, but it's rising from the clouds, and it cranes its neck upwards. And for a moment, if it had eyes, it would be looking right at you.
Okay. Let me see. I'm gonna look at something real quick. Oh wait. I think I'm trying to mind meld, at least with Horson and Dia, because I do see them. It says I can. Let's see. You can communicate with someone and a turn. You don't need to share language for it to understand telepathic utterances, and it understands you even if it lacks language. You gain access to one memory of the target's choice, which I'm not trying to access anyone's memory or anything like that. Wait, you gain access to one memory of the target. Anyway, so I'm just trying to let them know, like, I see something, so I'm not the only person, and I don't want to yell, because I don't know what the creature... I don't want to spook the creature, and I also don't know if the traveler knows that these things exist, or he knows that the presence is around either. Horson and Dia will hear in their minds.
I think I see something down there. It's rising up to us. Over on the starboard side, the right side.
Can we respond to you, or do we just have to like talk out loud, or is this just like a one-way situation?
I think target must have intelligence of 2, otherwise communication can occur until end of turn. You don't need to share language. I think you can share something back to me.
Yeah, you can give, you get to choose with Mind Meld, basically. You can either communicate through words, or you can communicate through a memory or an image. It's your choice.
That's what I thought. That's what I was trying to project. I'm trying to project the image that I'm seeing. It's like a weird, like,
can do that.
It's a weird, like the YouTube Twitch effect, where you're like, I don't know if this is live or not. And I'm just like projecting that over to one of y'all. very meta.
So
Send it to
you would both see
Horson.
then.
You can only send it to one.
Yeah,
It is one.
send
Yeah,
Horson.
okay. So Horson, you would see beneath flying upwards now, and when it flies upwards, it tilts up and it begins to barrel roll. As it's flying higher and higher, you can see its skeletal wings whipping around. I can't call this a dragon because Dark Sun dragons are something entirely different. This is a drake, but it's basically an obsidian skeletal dragon that's rising up from this cloud, and it's starting to spin up and fly towards the ship from beneath it.
So Horson's like enjoying his moment with Dia. He's like, "Yeah, I'm king of the fuck is that?" And then like this image just like wipes his head, and his whole body just like changes. And Dia, you would feel the urgency in his physicality, like that's something he just. This is things of pants wetting proportions that based on our relationship you would know.
Is there something about to
It's a-
kill us, or are you just pleased to see me?
It'll be both, and he'll just turn around, face Dia, and be like, "Fucking, fucking!" Just image appeared in my head.
When he turns around, I'm just going to point down like it was me who sent it over to Horson, and then I'm going to make my way inside of the ship to also. I'll probably communicate this to. Between Akasha and well, I don't see Marilla, so I'll communicate this also. Actually, I share this memory with the Traveler first. That's what I'm going to first share the memory to, if I have an opportunity to go inside.
Absolutely. You get inside the deck of the ship and you share this. Roll me an intelligence saving throw as you try to mind meld with the Traveler.
Yeah. 14.
Okay. There's a moment, and you've experienced this before, Evo. There's a moment where as you try to connect to the mind of this alien being, you feel your mind, it's like it's splitting into all directions and then reforming in some sort of cosmic space with celestial bodies and more of these flying ships, and you see all that again for a moment, and you blink through it, and you're able to push your message, whatever you would like, to the Traveler.
Yeah, just the live, not live stream of Drizzy Drake coming up to get us.
All right. Horson and Dia, I want to know what you're doing here on the deck of the ship in this moment.
I feel we should get the fuck inside.
I agree. And Dia has ducked down beneath the railing and is gonna like crawl across the deck, kind of scramble. She has nothing that would help here, and is going to go inside.
Horson, are you just sprinting? What are you doing? What's your idea here?
I want a moment to be able to witness, like looking over the edge to try to see the thing for myself. And at the same point in time, he was recently given something quite awesome from Marilla the last episode, and he's going to touch his fingers like hesitantly around that thing, that spear.
This is a multicolored but mostly blue metal spear with a glowing tip, and it is sharp. It's very sharp, but it glows. It pulses with a green light, much like the light that the ship itself, the vessel itself, pulses with. You have that spear on you, and as you kind of linger there, between the fore and the cabin of the ship, you see this thing spin up and rise over the deck and then hover and level itself, flapping its skeletal wings, its eyes directly towards you, its many-fanged jaw dropped wide open, and you see that it's not just one creature here. On its back, on its wings, hugging around its rib bones, some of those skeletal undead that chased you through the forest, you see several individuals that sort of look like the mind flayer himself, the traveler, except for their purple flesh is turned a strange pallid green color, and there's shadow whipping about from inside every orifice, just drifting from orifice to orifice, wrapping around their bodies. They're there on the back of that flying creature too. And I'll give you a moment here, Horson. Do you try to get away, or do you do something else?
I'll try to get away. This is some effed up shit.
And right behind you, Dia is crawling into the cabin as well. And at this moment, Ebo communicates telepathically with the captain. As soon as you do, Ebo, the captain spins the ball in his hand, and the ship turns hard to one side, and you all feel yourself shifting along the plane of the ship as the ship itself begins to swerve. And at that same moment, Orson and Dia, shards of bone, sharpened bone, somewhere within the back of this creature's maw fire out in a cone directly towards you, sticking like daggers into the deck of the ship. I need you both to make me dexterity saving throws. I'll give you advantage because the captain took an evasive maneuver.
21 for Dia.
19
All right.
Orson.
Okay, so then in that case, you are going to take only half damage.
Oof.
So 12 piercing damage. I imagine like one of the shards of bone sticks in the back of your leg, Orson, as you're moving back into the deck of the ship. And Dia, as you're crawling along on the deck, like it's like chasing you towards the inside of the ship, and one of them just hits you, cutting into your arm, into your bicep. And as you rejoin the others, anybody inside now can see out the floor of the ship. Yes, absolutely. Interrupt me.
Yeah, sorry. I have deflect missile.
Oh, no.
Can I deflect the missile somehow?
Yes.
I'm a monk?
Yes, absolutely. So go ahead and throw it up there in chat for me. Let's
Right.
negotiate.
I have no idea if this is gonna work. I was like looking for it. I had to scroll a long way to find it on my list of shit I can do.
So
I
roll
can use
me
my reaction to
1d10,
deflect or catch.
1d10 plus 8.
Plus 8.
And you're looking
11.
for a 12. Okay. So you can't catch it and throw it back, but you do deflect the worst of the blow. You're only going to take one damage here. What's this look like?
So I imagine she is gonna find some part of the ship that she can grab and kind of use as a, like, if this was like a New York street, it'd be the trash can lid, right? You'd grab that and kind of use that to deflect, but this is spelljammer ship, so just grab something and like hold it up. Great big dent comes in where this spine comes in and just boops her on the cheek, and she casts away whatever it is she grabbed.
It's like a broken piece of floorboard that one of the earlier shards broke off from the deck that flies towards you, and you turn and it does that thing where it sticks through like right in front of your nose. The shard sticks through right in front of your nose, but you stop it, like it just cuts your nose barely. You're able to toss it aside. As you crawl back into the deck of the ship with everybody else, you can all see this now, this great winged skeletal creature with many other undead clinging to its bones. It's rising up over the ship and looming high. And that's where we're going to take a break. We'll come back and we will see how we deal with this obstacle. So thanks everybody for hanging out. Go grab some snacks, grab some drinks. We're going to have a fun ride when we get back here in just about 5 minutes or so. And we are back. Hi, everybody. If you're just joining us, our band of adventurers are flying on the back of a spelljammer, an alien ship that's taking them towards the Obsidian Spire in the distance, across barren obsidian plains. And as they've been approaching the spire, a guardian of sorts has risen up out of the sky. This obsidian skeletal drake, it looks very similar to a dragon, that's barrel rolled up out of a cloud. It's flown above the ship, is hovering, flapping its wings. It's unleashed a breath attack that's more like a series of bone shards shooting out of its maw, sticking into the deck of the ship. As Horson and Dia retreated back towards the deck of the ship, they also saw that clinging to the skeletal frame of this beast are other undead, humanoid undead, skeletons. There's several mind flayer undead creatures there with shadows wrapping around them. And the ship banked hard to the left, avoiding most of the blast from this creature. And we're going to go to combat now. We fly across the Deadland, and we are going to start combat with Dia, who has just barely grabbed a piece of the ship, the deck of the ship, and held it up to their face, blocking one of these sharp shards and then tossing it aside. Dia, what do you do next?
Excellent question. I want to get into the ship and out of the way of this beastie. But before I do, as Dia turns to Duck, she's gonna try a Hail Mary and hope that this thing isn't undead and does speak common. And she's gonna try and command it to flee. Be gone, beastie, she says. So I'm gonna try and cast the magics. Casting the magics. So she turns, uses her most authoritative voice, and just says, "Flee." And dark 1T magic fills her body. I'm trying to read what you have to do. I think it's a spell save.
It is. It's a wisdom saving throw for command.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's not gonna work because this thing's probably undead, but I may not speak common, but I'll try it.
The creature
100%
itself.
of the clan forgot me?
The creature itself doesn't seem to heed your command. It doesn't flee, but a few of the skeletons that are climbed up onto its back that look like they're about to jump off onto the deck of the ship, they freeze for a moment. You're uncertain if it's because of your command or something else.
And then I'd like to use my movement to get my ass into cover, into the ship. Probably as deep a hidey hole as she can find, so she can think of a better plan.
All right. So you're a monk, so you move pretty quickly. You're able to run through the main deck of the ship, past the captain, the Illithid, who is standing up and manipulating the ship with this glowing crimson orb, and to the back where you saw the sleeping quarters, with all of the brain jars and some other fun things in there. And you would see back in that area as well, as you run into the back, you'd see Marilla. Anything else
We're
you
in
want to do?
danger.
I should say so.
As long as we understand that. And then duck next to Marilla by the ballista and rifle through clothing to find Cube. And that's what I'm going to do for my turn.
Okay. At the end of your turn, one of the creatures clinging to the skeletal drake does leave off. It's one of the undead illithids. They have green, pallid skin. It's already starting to rot. You can see the bone jutting out from underneath, and shadows that kind of coalesce out of their eyes, their what might be their ears, various orifices. And this one lands on the deck of the ship. There's a squick as its rubbery skin hits the wood of the ship, and it begins to lumber forward, arm over arm, reaching out for you, Horson, because you are the closest to it. And it's going to attack you.
Good luck, thing. Good luck, Undead Elephant.
First attack's going to be an 11. Okay. So it reaches out with one of its arms and dives through the air at you, like trying to tackle you through the air. How do you stop it from hitting you?
If it dives at me, and it does not hit me, I just simply, like, in the state of panic where I just like, I just got shredded with all these spikes, he's gonna shove the butt end of the spear down and use the spear to shove himself in a direction laterally, so he dives and misses.
They'll say you do so right at the doorway that leads into the open doorway that kind of leads into the deck, and so you're pressed up against the frame, and this thing like misses you and slams its shoulder into the other frame and spins around, and then it reaches out with both of its rubbery hands for your neck. Its second attack. A 23.
That'll do it.
All right. You're going to take 10 necrotic damage and roll me 1d4.
Got it. 3.
You're going to temporarily lose 3 points of constitution, Orson.
Oh, that's sexy.
I know. Rubbery fingers wrap, and they're long too. They wrap all the way around your neck and actually fold back into that same hand. You can feel, not burning, you can feel something cold passing through your skin into your neck. You can hear the sound of your own skin beginning to rip away. A moment later, it pulls back its hand and it pulls some of your flesh with it, stuck to the hand.
Oh,
that's its turn.
Hot. But I'm not grappled.
You're not grappled, no.
Okay.
It is your turn, however.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna punch it in its silly face. So here we go. First one, jab. 24. I like that.
That'll be a hit.
Second attack is going to be with a cross. 26. Fuck me. That's good.
Those are both hits.
All right, 7 damage on the first one, 10 damage on the next.
And remind me, at your level, do your unarmed attacks count as magical weapons?
They sure as shit do, my friend.
All right, tell me how you defeat this creature.
So after getting some neck flesh ripped off, he's going to put his right foot back, aim lightly with a jab, aim with a jab but not put as much power into it to set up the cross. So he'll right in the jaw of the first one to kind of set it up for an instantaneous strong cross to make contact with the Undead Elephant's face, press it up against the frame that was right nearby, and continue to punch through the face until his hand hits the wooden frame. And there's nothing but illithid spaghetti dripping down.
Yep, that's exactly what happens. And as the body slumps down into the frame with what's left of its face, anything else you want to do on your turn?
I'm going to use a bonus action to spend a moxie point and brace up, which gives me 7, 1d8 plus 7. Ooh, that's just 1d8 plus 7 hit points. Because now my constitution's temporarily 11, so I gain 11 hit points back.
All right. Are you staying in that frame, or are you using your movement to go elsewhere?
I will move elsewhere. I'll find some cover from that dragon breath, there's like crates or some sort of like some ships have like the Star Trek boards where there's different stations. Try to duck behind a little workstation if there's a such thing.
There absolutely is, yeah, and there's several of them around. Do you want to stay near the doorway, or do you want to move further back past, like, say, Ebo and Laguerre or Kasha? You?
I'll stay in the front to try to make a concerted effort to try to make a bottleneck to control the flow of things coming into the room.
All right. So as you slip inside, you can hear the sound, because it's their turn next, of other figures hitting the deck of the ship, jumping off of this drake's wings. Two of those skeletal figures, whose bones seem to be encased in obsidian, just like all of the land around here. And their hands are tipped in long, curved claws. They run, scattering through into the deck of the ship, and one of them is going to run directly for the captain, the traveler. You'll have an opportunity attack if you want to take it.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Jesus, 24. Fuck me running, that's awesome.
Roll me the damage.
11.
All right, and what's this look like?
As he's running, I'm assuming they're kind of like running at the same time. He'll jump in the air, shift his hips, and just do a quick pop with his left hand right at the head.
And just like with the petrified trees down below when you and Ebo first came here, when you actually manage to make solid contact with this thing, it shatters. First its skull, and then the rest of it brittle. And all of those obsidian shards fly across the room in all directions, and then land in various piles. The second one that ran in with it runs directly now, changing its turn towards you, and it lowers its balance in a way that suggests that it actually knows how to fight. And then it cuts at you once with one claw and then up with a second claw. And it's going to attack you here. 16?
16 is my armor class.
7 slashing damage and 6 necrotic damage.
Sure.
And then a 14. So the second slash probably just whooshes right by your face. You can feel the air moving against your skin.
Cool.
That's their turn.
That was shocking. Yeah.
Laguerre, it's your turn. You're back closer to the captain, closer to the traveler and the ship, and you see everybody run in. You see this confrontation with Horson and this undead in the doorway, and then 2 more run in. Horson shatters one of them, and the other one attacks Horson, and they're locked up currently. What do you do?
I am within 30 feet, yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, then I am going to cast Hideous Laughter on the one that is entangled with him that I can see.
Perfect. Let's see here. What's your spell save DC?
Hold on.
I don't
14.
think it's going to matter. Yeah, so how do you imagine how do you do this? And you succeed, so how do you imagine the reaction? Is this a joke? Is this a spell?
It's more just, yes, they are terribly annoying, but you can't kill them. That's my job. And she's gonna cast Hideous Laughter.
There's a strange reaction to this spell as this skeleton fights right in front of you, Orson, where it's about to attack you again, lunge at you with its claws, and then instead it wraps its hands inside of its own rib cage, and it begins to heave up and down, up and down. You can hear the rattling of off its bones. Its jaw is clacking, its teeth clacking against each other.
Do I know the source?
Probably not. You're not trained in
Not
magic,
at all.
right?
0%.
This could just be a weird strategy, or maybe it's broken.
Okay.
Cool. All right, Laguerre, what else do you want to do with your turn? Anything with your bonus action? Do you want to move at all or hold your position here, close to the captain?
I'm just going to hold my position and stay close to the captain.
Cool. All right. Ebo, it's your turn. You're also back there close to the captain in the deck of the ship. You see all of this as well. You can also just see part of the skeletal drake flying beyond through the doorway.
So right now we have how many beings in here? Is it 2 or 1? Okay. And then can I gauge how far the dragon is? Like, do I know how, if he's like within, I don't know, 50 feet or farther from that?
I would say if you would get up to the doorway within 50 feet.
Okay. There's a whole bunch of melee people in here, so there's not a lot of people who... Alright, so I'm gonna go and... Has the dragon taking any damage yet, or no?
Not that you're aware of, no.
Okay, I'm gonna chill touch the dragon, because, well... Yep, because I don't want to go too hard in the paint. I'm gonna chill touch the dragon. So I gotta roll for that, and that is going to be... I wish I could just like click on the spell and it rolled for me, but not a thing.
You should have it in your attack. Let's see here.
Oh, I could put it in my attacks. Okay, well I don't have it that way. So I gotta make a spell attack. So I'm gonna roll d20 and add 7. So, boom. So 20 dirty.
That's a hit.
All right, I will roll 1d8 here. Yep, a big old 2 points of damage, necrotic damage to that obsidian dragon.
What's this look like?
Yeah, so you're gonna see this kind of like the small like seeps of blood like kind of leak out of my hand and turn greenish, and then it just fires off like a projection from my hand, from Ebo's hand to the obsidian dragon. Yeah, and this is a cantrip, so he doesn't have to pull out any bones or anything for that. He just kind of recalls it into his mind. You see him focus and think for a second, and then fire off one of these like ghastly, ghostly hands.
The green spectral hand strikes the dragon right in the face, or the drake right in the face. Doesn't seem to have very much effect.
Okay.
Ebo, you're learned enough in these ways to understand when something's resistant and when it's not. It's definitely resistant.
Game recognized game. I gotcha. Yeah. All right. I don't think I can do much other than that, except I don't want to be in the creature's line of sight because I know it's shooting out a bone breath that I don't want any part of. So
you just like roll back inside the doorway, so the wall's backs up against the wall. Okay.
Cool. That's what I'm doing for my turn.
All right, Marilla. The door's open from the back of the ship where you are to the deck, so you can see bits of this and get a sense of what's going on.
I think the list is appropriate. I don't think anyone will be mad that I know about the ballista. I think I need to shoot the ballista now. So I'd like to get that set up, get into the seat, get one loaded, and if I can, shoot. But that's a lot of things, so I understand if I can't.
So, yeah, you can load with a bonus action. And I'll say, roll me an athletics check, and for every 4 you get on your athletics check. That's how many of these ballista bolts, these large spear-like objects, I'll let you carry over at once.
Good, because I am so very good at athletics. 12. That's 13 minus 1.
So you're able to get 3 ballista bolts over as you interact with the arcane runes where the ballista bolts are stored, and when you do, that circular table that floats in the center of this back room begins to spin upwards into the air, and as it does, the ballista itself rises from a hidden panel below deck. And once you get the ballista bolts over and set up into the grooves where you're able to set them out to the side so you can easily reload them, you get sat down into the seat. You see is like this smaller orb that's multicolored. Looks very similar in a way to the orb that the traveler showed you that he now holds as he maneuvers the ship. And roll me an Arcana check.
Oh, that's good. 19.
You feel inherently that you can interact with this in the same way that the traveler interacts with the other one, and you also get the sense that this is drawing magical energy, that you can use your actual understanding to a certain extent of magic to empower this orb, and you can spend spell slots to give yourself advantage on these attacks. Which I think also would trigger your sneak attack as well. I just thought about that, but it absolutely would. Yeah. So Marilla, once you actually interact with this orb, and there's a seat too, it's actually really comfy. It's not made of bone. It's made of you're not sure if it's leather. Material's questionable, but it's much more comfortable than the other chair looks. And you kind of get settled in, you interact with this orb. The thing that everybody in the ship notices is that sort of snail-like hard outer structure that covers the inner decks of the ship, it retracts all the way around, exposing the back of the ship where Marilla is, exposing the deck of the ship where the captain and most of the people are, to the air, to the Drake. And at the same time, the ballista rises higher up. It actually hovers off the back of the ship, but it seems to keep match and pace with it. Wherever the ship goes, floating ballista goes. And now you're sort of hovering above the ground in the seat, Marilla. That's going to be your turn to get all that set up. You're all set up now. Cool. I'm going to roll for the captain here. Captain is going to take evasive maneuvers. That seems wise at the moment. So for a moment, you're face to face with this flying Drake, and then the captain actually does something rather clever. There's a jutting cliff that's rising up to your left, and he turns the ship directly towards it. So the ship is flying like it's going to collision course with this large obsidian cliff. And the Drake barrel rolls and tries to follow. And at the last minute, the captain pulls straight up into the air, and you're all starting to slide back a little bit. There's just enough of a tilt that you're not falling off the ship, but he's going vertical straight up this cliff. And when he reaches the top like a roller coaster, he dives down. And in that moment, he turns, and for a few moments, seems to lose the Drake. There's too much distance between the two of between your ship and the Drake for any more of those creatures to jump off at you. And you all have advantage on any dexterity saving throws that you need to make this turn. Which is good, because it's the Drake's turn, and I need everybody to make me a dexterity saving throw.
Oh, you son of a bitch. Ooh, 11. Does cover matter in this?
That's the thing, is that by rising up the ballista and setting up the ballista, the cover of the inside of the ship, like, retracted. So you're all open air now.
This is disadvantage, right?
No, you
Or
have
advantage?
advantage.
All right.
Advantage, yeah.
All right. I have 11.
Okay. So 18 piercing damage. Anybody who rolled a 15 or higher, only 9 piercing damage. And what happens is from a distance, there's another blast of sharp obsidian shards from this Drake's Maw, and they like line the side of the ship as the ship turns, and when the ship rights, another spray of them goes across the ship, cutting into pretty much everybody, some worse than others. I want to check in with everybody as we move back to the top of the round. How's everybody looking? Who's looking rough?
I'm at roughly a third. If that's
Okay.
rough, that's rough. But if it's not rough, then, I'm trucking along.
You've had worse days. You've had a lot of better days. Right now, you have a large chunk of obsidian sticking out of your arm and your leg.
What was the
Cool.
saving throw on that?
DC 15.
Okay, got it.
I have evasion, so I'm doing all right so far.
That's back up to the top of the... That's right. How's Laguerre doing?
Well, I rolled a 22, but still took the 9, so I've got 16 hit points currently.
Ooh, okay. Dia, it's your turn. You can see the Obsidian Spire now. You're getting a little bit closer to it. This purple light shooting off the top like a beacon towards the sun. And the captain has turned the ship and is once again directing it in that direction. You've just managed to give the slip to this Drake momentarily, but it seems to be faster than you are.
So she has the cube of sending that she was gifted that contacts Risa, and her fingers are hurriedly running over the surface as she is basically speed texting her boy wherever he is to be like, hey, we're going to pick up something that's going to help. We might not make it, but we're doing our best. Kind of something to that extent, basically giving him an explanation of what's going on and that they're going to get something. And basically if he wants to win, he better be waiting for her when she gets to Balic.
Interesting. Yeah, and we can decide later like what that full message is, because I'll make sure that Rysar gets it. And I'm curious though, for right now, does that information include what the thing is that you're getting and what it does?
Yes.
Like it includes the description of the box and how it can make shapeshifters.
I don't think she's going to
form.
explain like exactly what it is, but she's going to say, got something that exposes shapeshifters. Guess your trick's not going to work anymore. Come up with something better. See you in Balic.
Cool. And as you use this box, and you use the runes as you scribe, it's like a magic eraser behind your fingers. You scribe a rune to write. The words are already disappearing. The runes are already disappearing before you finish them. And then it's just a box again.
Perfect. And then I'd like to spend a key point to use patient defense and have a bonus action dodge.
Okay.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Sounds like a great idea.
Movement to cover, movement to secure place where she's not preferably going to fall off the ship.
Okay. Is anything else on your turn? Are you staying in the back of the ship, or when you go to cover, do you mean like closer to the front?
What if there's something where she can kind of wedge herself in so she's less likely to fall out if we suddenly do a barrel roll? Like she's staying close to Marilla though to try and assist. Although she can't actively do that right now because she's used all her actions, but
There are these lines of sleeping pods that are vertical, with like glass covers all around in this room, facing inward towards where the ballista rose up from the deck. and one of them will say, like, the glass is missing. They're maybe shattered from the force of one of these obsidian shards. You're able to, like, cling to it or even climb in it and, like, brace yourself. That's right. It's like that ride. I can't remember what it's called. The one that spins around and around and around. You, like, go up into the air.
Yeah, like a Wala.
Gravitron?
Yeah. Gravitron. Yeah, it's like a Gravitron. Cool. All right, well, at the end of your turn, Ebo, near the doorway, which is since retracted, you see that undead mind flayer, which you don't know what a mind flayer is, but that's what it is. A squid-faced individual on the ground that Horson just smashed. The shadows that were coalescing out of it rise up, and though it itself is defeated, the shadows take form, this large, stretching, long-armed form, and you can see the head twist to the side and something like a mouth, but it's not, because it's just empty air opening up where its mouth should be, expands, and it drives itself directly towards you.
Okay. This one's coming at me right now.
Yeah.
Changes things. This is weird. It's not on me quite yet, right?
It's about to attack. It looks like it's about to attack you.
Yeah.
You're. If you have something you want to try, let me know.
It's very stupid. How long is this ship, first of all? That's my first question.
You just said like something like 100 feet from fore to aft.
How fast is this ship going?
I mean, the wind is whipping past you. It's so fast.
Okay.
You know, it's not jet speed, but it's much faster. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, this is probably the most legitimate thing I can do at this moment. I'm gonna just use invisibility on myself. So I'm going to pull out a piece of bone. This piece of bone it almost looks like it's like a tar or like a tree sap lollipop with because there's a bone and then like tree sap on there. And then I will grab that bone and I'm going to smash it onto the ground. And right where I smash it, I just go invisible. It's like beware a break of glass. So it's just like this little spherical amber part, and I just smash it on the ground, and then I just go invisible, and I'm gonna move away from that creature, and maybe get a ideal vantage point of where that flying dragon is. So that is it on top of us actually?
It's behind you now. You've actually
behind us now.
A little bit of a slip, yeah. So if you go back to where the ballista is, it's flying to catch up with you, and as fast as you are, it is faster.
Mm-hmm. And there's no cover, like it's all like open. You know, pop the top missing. All right.
Your flying Corvette.
Yeah. All right. So that's my action. I'm just going to get away from that creature and probably get close to the ballista, because that's just a good... Well, nope, I'm going to go on the opposite side of the ballista. And that's going to be my turn. Like, if it's on the starboard side, I'll be on the port side. If it's on the port side, I'll be on the starboard side.
Cool. Sweet. So, Horson, it's your turn.
Okay.
You've got this skeleton right in front of you that's wrapped, like it's holding itself and like heaving strangely, and you would see Ebo disappear as he throws some bones that shatter down on the ground, and you would also see this rising shadow. It's completely risen now. It rises from the corpse that you recorpsed.
Was I able to find cover at all when I with like the different stations, like something to establish a...
Yeah, you're behind one of the... Yeah, you're behind one of the stations right now. Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to use a bonus action to give me some more of those temporary HP, Let me roll that right now. Yes, nice. Me likey. That's 15 temporary hit points. And then I'm going to use my main action to take the spear and kind of use the butt of it to, like, hit the laughing, the broken skeleton. Let me do that right now.
Go for it. You have advantage on the attack because
That's a 13.
It is incapacitated. Your first attack's a miss.
Cool.
So I
And then
imagine
I'll-
even though like you strike it, you don't strike it with enough force to actually shatter it. And there's a little bit of the spear's half like bounces off of it.
And then I'll go for the second one. 21.
That's a hit.
Oh,
That's just
no,
the
that's a
first
that's a
one there.
DC. I'll roll.
Oh no,
the-
that's okay. That's just it. That's just there for in case you do the extra thing.
Oh yeah, cool. That's a lot. Neato. 10 piercing or 10 whatever the butt. Bludgeoning.
10 piercing.
Yeah.
Yeah, bludgeoning's cool. 10 bludgeoning damage. That shatters. That just like before, the second strike, you crack it right in like the spinal column beneath of its ribs, and it shatters into two parts. Both parts hit the ground and shatter into many smaller parts.
And then I'm going to kind of like take my position back towards the traveler, and Akasha.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to do on your turn?
I think that's everything. Got my reaction in the back pocket. Other than that,
You can see now as that Drake is starting to fly closer that there's several more of the figures gripping onto it that have climbed up now onto its skull. And they're like holding on tight, ready to leap off when they're close enough. But it's not their turn. It's Laguerre's turn. So Laguerre, you're
Okay.
flying now in this flying Corvette. The Drake is flying to catch up with you from behind. You can see behind you where this floating ballista is. Meryl is manning the ballista. Dia is smooshed into one of these sleeping chambers, and you don't know where Evo is. He just disappeared. Horson and the Traveler are close to you.
Okay, so I'm in this Corvette and they're behind me. I would like to use my Mind Thrust. I know it's like a bonus action, but to propel a lance of psionic disruption into the mind of one creature you can see within range, the target must make an intelligence saving throw. On a failed save, the target takes 3d6 psychic damage, and it can use its action only to dash or disengage on its next turn.
Awesome. And are you targeting the Drake itself?
You said who's directly behind me? Were they in pursuit of me, or was that the Drake?
The Drake is flying behind the ship in pursuit of the ship. You can see the Drake now. It is within. You can see it, so it's within your range. So you could target the Drake. There is also a shadow, a rising shadow that just rose from a corpse on the deck of the ship too.
I'm gonna go ahead and take the opportunity at the Drake.
It's good. This is not the Drake's strongest saving throw. Even with advantage, it's only a 13, which is not high enough. All right, so roll me 3d6 psychic damage. And tell me too, like, what does this look like anything, or is there like an image that you cast into whatever remains of this undead Drake's mind? What do you imagine this is?
Well, I like to imagine it can still feel pain. So I just want to send like a sharp, like migraine style headache straight down the temple. And that's going to be 13 points of damage.
Excellent. The Drake itself like stops for a moment, and its skeletal wings beat. You can actually even hear a little bit of the rush of air off of them, and it stretches its neck, craning up towards the sun. And for a moment, you get this perfect look at like a silhouette of this obsidian skeletal drake stretching against the background of the great dark sun in the sky. And it opens its mouth like it's screaming, but no sound comes out. And the ship manages to get a little bit further away.
You're welcome.
You still have an action too?
Yes, I do.
So
Oh
with
no,
an
it's gonna
action,
take
you
too
can use
long. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all right. I was gonna say with an action you can do a you can do a cantrip or any other action like dodge or help.
But could I do Thunderwave?
Can't remember if Thunder.
Well,
I
I've
always
got
get
him with
Thunderwave confused. Let's see here.
like my.
No, because Thunderwave is another spell slot. You can't cast 2 level spells in the same turn. But you can do a cantrip.
I'm not actually meaning to hit.
it's
Sweet.
okay.
And I know I've got a weapon. I'm actually just going to give myself some space as my action. I'm going to try to get a little bit further away so that I can come back and make an attack
on the next turn. Yeah, so you're able to get to the floor of the ship. At one point, Dia and Horson were here doing Titanic earlier before things got hairy, and you're able to get there no problem. And Marilla, then it's going to be your turn. And you've seen all of this unfold. You see now behind you that drake stretched out its neck to the sky, but it does start to coil back and it starts to move back like it's going to... I'm not sure if it's going to pursue you or go in a different direction, but it's looking back towards you again.
I aim for the neck as it's stretched. It's a larger area to hit than it was before.
So this is the bargain I'll give you, because this is one of our house rules we've rarely used, but exists. You can do a targeted attack. You would forego your advantage and roll it normally, which means you wouldn't lose your sneak attack. You still keep that technically, but if you hit, it's as if it were vulnerable to your attack. So it's almost like dealing double damage.
How far away are we from the drake now?
At this point, technically, mechanically, you're like 60 feet away.
Okay, cool. I believe I will take that deal if I retain my advantage for the sake of sneak attack, just not for the sake of roll.
You do.
That works for me.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. Well, I suppose I should ask one more question. Do I have my proficiency bonus to rolls with a giant bloody ballista? Because I might need my advantage otherwise.
I'm going to, because you rolled so high on your Arcana check to see if you could figure out how to use this orb that manipulates it, I'm going to say yes.
Lovely. All right. Then I will, I suppose, do ballista magic, expend a spell slot, and try to drive this bolt into a drake neck.
All right.
That was cocked. That was not. And let's see. That's 8, that's a dirty 20.
That is enough to hit. So let me do this damage here.
Yeah, what's this? From a giant magic ballista. Asking for Corey.
And it fails. Yeah, where is Corey?
Oh, tucked into my robes. Goodness.
Okay, good.
You're too young to see this.
So as you manipulate this orb, it locks into a singular color before it's multicolored, and that color is a bright white light. And all of a sudden, the sort of rumbling of this floating ballista stops, and it unleashes a bolt. There's no sound. There's nothing besides the visual of this silent bolt flying through the air, like a ballista would normally, perfectly hitting the Drake directly in its outstretched bony neck that Laguerre's spell has caused it to stretch upward. And as it does, when it hits, that glowing green spear tip of the ballista bolt explodes with a massive amount of green light. It takes 14 piercing damage, and it takes 72 radiant damage, which is strong. It's very strong.
I should use a ballista all the time.
Very helpful. For you don't you're manipulating this orb in this very comfortable chair. There's no pressure, there's no kickback, there's nothing like that. It's just you understand its arcane intention, and when you drain a little bit of your own life force using a bit of defiling magic to put into the orb, it just does your will. And this massive explosion, there's no dust that settles, it's just light. When the light fades, the dragon or the Drake is still flying towards you, but you can see now that its outstretched neck is sort of flapping off to the side, semi-broken. Its jaw is still snapping wildly, but part of its spine has been very, very damaged by this attack, and it's not doing quite as well as it was before. And you can roll your sneak attack damage too, actually. I forgot about that.
Oh, good. Damage. I wasn't sure if that was included. Lovely.
Yeah.
Ooh. That's another 18. And I have a +5 dex bonus.
Yay. Very nice. Cool. That's your action. Do you stay seated? Do you reload the ballista?
I reload the ballista as a bonus action, yes.
Okay. So as you do, your floating seat flies back down to the deck of the ship so that you're close enough to and quickly settle it into place. And then once you do, with a spin, you go back up into the air. Cool. The captain is going to once again do his best to maneuver. And with the distance that you've created and the damage that you've given this Drake, you're getting closer to the Obsidian Spire now, moving at a very fast speed. And the captain, instead of taking any fancy maneuver, just pushes the speed, and it's like hitting another gear. You can all feel the wind almost knocking into you, you slide back a little bit. You kind of have to brace yourself a little bit. And the Drake is trying to keep up, but you're actually pretty far away from it. And once again, it'll have disadvantage on its attacks, and it can't actually use its turn to attack because of Laguerre's spell. It can only use its turn to dash, and that's what it does, following you. So you've locked up a Drake for this turn. Dia, it's your turn.
Oh, I double muted myself. How far away is the Drake?
After its dash, it does catch up. It does pick up speed to match you, so it's probably about 50 feet away now. Still not close enough for the undead that are climbed up on it to jump onto your ship.
Is there anywhere on the ship I can move to be 20 feet closer to it by any chance?
Yeah, I'll say if you're willing to climb, there's on the aft of the ship, there's sort of this overhang. If you're willing to climb out onto the overhang, then I'll say yes.
Yeah, I'll try it. She's like, oh, I feel really bad. I've been in this box. All right, she'll bust out some speed, acrobatics her ass up to get closer because she needs to be closer. And then, inspired by the ballista, she's gonna throw a radiant bolt at this thing and hope it hits.
Excellent.
Try and double down on what's going on. 16 to hit.
That is just a miss, actually. 17 AC.
Bad times. Let me read. Can I? Here's your.
You can multi-attack here.
Yeah, can I do 2 sunbolts then? Is that allowed or no?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, I'll do it. I try again. It's okay. No, that's even worse.
Oh, no.
Natural 1.
So as you fire these 2 bolts of sunlight out of your hands, focusing your psionics to photosynthesize the actual sun through your body and then use it to attack, they go just between like one of the wings and the bones at its shoulder, and the other one, the drake dives just for a moment and just glazes right over the top of it. Do you want to spend key points to do anything else?
No, I simply say, you little bitch, and cling for dear life to whatever I'm stood on.
All right. You can roll me an acrobatics or athletics check.
All right. I do. 8.
So, and this is just for fun purposes. I'm not gonna knock you off here, but what happens is like the ship turns and all of a sudden, like, you're wrapped around the underside of this overhang instead of the overside.
She's like clinging, like upside down.
Awesome.
Yo,
Cool.
Me.
Then at the end of your turn, Horson, the shadow that's risen from the undead body begins to drift through the chamber, and it looks like it's heading directly towards the captain. Do you try to interfere? Do you try to make an opportunity attack?
Yeah, fuck this thing.
All right, go for it.
You're
back behind one of these stations right now, right? Using it as cover?
Yeah, I moved to be closer to who I perceive as Akasha and the captain, and I have like the spear in hand, and I'm gonna try to do a little bob, a little weave. Let's play with it. And you know, he's seen spears be used, but he's never really directly done used a spear himself for instances. So he's going to take it with like a closed grip, step forward with his left leg, and drive through and try to hit it like a baseball bat, which is the complete incorrect way to use a spear. But we're going to see if it does something.
All right. Yep.
It's a 13 on the first one.
13's going to hit the shadow.
Neat. And that'll be 8 piercing.
All right. And this is an opportunity attack, so you just get 1 attack here.
Mm-hmm.
Because it'll be your turn next. The shadow, when you swing through it, you pass right through it, and it sort of like breaks apart and begins to reform. There's still a weird hole in its center mass where you struck, and now as you strike it, it turns towards you, and instead of heading towards the captain, it tries to envelop you like a black, thin blanket wrapping around your skin, trying to pull itself around your face.
Okay.
It's a 23 hit.
Oh yeah, it does.
All right, roll me 1d4.
A 2.
So you're going to take 11 necrotic damage as this thing's wrapped around you, and you'll lose 2 more constitution points.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then it's going to use its second attack. How are you looking?
I'm up still. Now, when I lose constitution, I can't really figure out how that affects my maximum hit points. So
That's
there
okay.
any
Don't worry about that.
ratio? Okay.
Yeah. Don't worry about that.
Okay. A constitution is one of my beefy things, so can't hold out forever, but it's something.
So its second attack is a 6, which I know is going to miss you. So, but it remains kind of like, imagine like narratively, it's still kind of wrapped around you, like a thin, shadowy sheet.
Would you say I'm grappled?
Nah, I wouldn't say you're grappled. Do you want to be grappled?
Enveloped. I mean, Billy, me, yes. I love it. Yeah, Horson, not so much.
That's fair. No, you're not mechanically grappled. Cool. That's its turn. Horson, it's your turn.
There's things like coming around me, and I want to take 2 hits with the spear. All right. 22 on the first one.
Oh yeah, that'll hit.
For 9 damage.
Okay.
15 on the second.
That's a hit as well.
11 damage.
Oof. Okay, so describe to me how you destroy the shadow.
He's completely panicking now that the shadow's like around him, and so he's just like, ah! And so he just stabs down twice, and it just like the spear goes into it, and like there's like a weird fizzing effect, so it's attempting to reform but not, and he just frantically hits it in the right spot where it can't reform entirely, and then the parts that aren't connected just kind of float off and dissipate into the space around it.
Awesome. So you still have the rest of your turn. Right now, there's no more enemies on the deck of the ship, just this chasing Drake.
Okay. Is there anything still on the back of the Drake, just out of curiosity?
I mean, you can see it looks like there's more undead on it, but it hasn't been able to get close enough. The captain's done a good enough job at steering the ship to avoid letting it get close again. So they haven't jumped off yet.
All right, I'll use burn another Moxie point. Use a bonus action to give myself some more temporary hit points. Yes, 8. Yeah. 15 temporary hit points.
Awesome. You holding your position, you move into a certain part of the ship.
I'm going to congregate where the closest bodies are, and I still believe that's Akasha and the Traveler. You
have Akasha and the Traveler in the center of the ship, and then you have Dia hanging off the aft of the ship. Ebo's disappeared, and Marilla is in the aft section, but floating up above it in that ballista seat.
Oh, does Dia need assistance? Will she have this? Then I'm gonna hold. Then I'm gonna, like, if I don't notice it, then I'm gonna hold my. If I don't notice her hanging off, I'm gonna hold my position and get close to Akasha and Traveler.
Cool. All right. Laguerre, it's your turn. You see Horson take care of this shadow. You've witnessed the ballista, everything, and Horson kind of gets closer to you and Traveler. What do you do?
So the Drake is still there, but it's too far behind us to be an issue, or
it's faster than you. So like you've kept it from attacking. Your spell has caused it to use only the dash action, so it's keeping up with you. But it can't attack you yet.
Well, if it's broke, don't. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I would like to actually cast Fear. I was supposed to have.
So you'll have to cast Fear, I think, to get in range. You might have to move towards the back of the ship. Are you willing to do that?
I am.
Okay. Let's see if I can do this. Wisdom saving throw. Ooh. It rolled a 7. So this is going to be similar, except for now you force it to dash in the opposite direction. Tell me, great, whether it's a hallucination, you can decide, this could be a hallucination that only this undead creature can see. This could be an actual, like, illusion that you create. What is it, though, that you do, that you create, that causes this drake to start to turn away and fly in the opposite direction?
On every side of it, it just sees flames. Just flames close to its face, to its eyes, and it's just engulfed completely in flames. And that's all it sees. And it can't see us, it can't see anything, it just sees the flames.
And what you would see as you cast the spell on the drake is that it begins to fly, like crisscrossing wildly up and down, barrel rolling and then diving away, smashing its tail, its bony tail, into its own ribs, like it's trying to put out the fire that it thinks it's burning. And for at least the time, you've got this thing completely unfocused on you and your vessel. Epic. Cool. Anything else you want to do on your turn? You want to use a bonus action to cast anything?
I do not. I just want to get a little more space.
Just get back a bit. Yep. Okay. Ebo, it's your turn.
I'm going to... There's nothing else on the ship, right? Like, no, it's all just the obsidian dragon now?
Yeah, I would say I think Horson has taken care of all of the drop mobs, right? Like all of the skeletons and undead creatures.
So how many are there? Is there more than one at the moment?
Bodies that were on the ship?
No, like animated, actively animated things on the ship.
None on the ship that are still animated. Horson's taking care of them all.
Okay.
The dragon itself, the drake itself, there are probably at least a dozen or maybe more are wrapped around its bones.
Cool, that's what I thought. So I'm going to drop concentration on invisibility and then attempt to do concentration on Witch Bolt, but I have to do a spell attack. I believe it's this one. Yep. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to do a spell attack, and I'm going to I can upcast things, right, without having to defile, as long as I have the spell slots.
That's true. Yeah. Defiling is just another way to do it.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to use a 3rd level spell to cast Witch Bolt. Cool. So yeah, here we go on the dragon. Thank God. 22 to hit.
That's it.
All right. So that's going to be 3d12, I think. You cast this 2nd level or higher. 1d12 for each slot. Yeah, so yep. 3d12. Ugh. So 8 plus 9, 17 plus 9, 26. So 26 points of lightning damage. You're going to see Ebo take out, put away the invisibility bone, grab another bone out, and you're going to see from either side of the bone, as he's holding it this way, you're going to see black and green lightning just basically arc between me and the dragon as he comes back from being invisible. I'm just holding it and concentrating on it. Is there, just for dispersion's sake, because if it does the bone shard thing, are we kind of separate from each other? I'm at least trying to get distance from other people so that if the breath happens, not all of us are in one place.
Yeah, you could get out of range. Like, basically, imagine your ship in 3 quadrants. It's kind of how I've set it up. So you have the aft, where the ballista is, the sleeping quarters are. You have the center, where the captain is, and then the fore. I'm basically using its breath attack, so it's only able to hit 2 of those at once. Right now, most of the people are in the aft.
Is it within 30 feet of me, actually? I should have asked that before I started the Witch Bolt.
If you go all the way back to the aft,
Yeah, I'll go there.
Then yes, yeah, just barely right now. But it is about to fly in the other direction.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there, and I'm gonna try as best as I can. If it like goes from left to right, you're just gonna see Ebo looking like he's trying to fly a kite dragon with lightning. That's what it is. That's what he's doing. So
awesome.
That's what I'm doing for my turn.
Cool. So that whole light show is happening off the back of the ship towards this drake. And Marilla, it's your turn.
All right. I would like to fire off this amazing ballista again. I think because Laguerre's debuff isn't active, I don't have the trade-off I do last time. So I think I just expend the spell slot and roll at disadvantage.
That's right.
Cool.
It doesn't have its vulnerable point open.
Right. That's a 19 to hit.
That is it, though. Yeah.
All right,
So
good.
if you roll your sneak attack, I'll go ahead and roll this.
That's another 18. And then 5 dex bonus.
All right. And then that is going to be 10 more piercing and 21 radiant damage. Oof. Okay. I need everyone to roll me a dexterity saving throw.
Ooh. Dirty 20 for me.
It's a dirty 10 for me.
21 for me.
Okay.
24.
Okay.
19.
Okay. So everyone's going to take half damage here except for Horson, who will take the full damage. So what happens, Marilla, is you manipulate the orb and you line it up, and it's not Star Wars, but like you see an image of the Drake within the orb and it kind of gets centered, and then like you interact, and then the thing fires, and the blinking green light at the end of the tip of the spear explodes again. And as it does, you can see the skeletal figures and the undead illithids on its back just fly off in all directions, and the drake itself breaks apart and shatters into thousands of shards of obsidian, and they go flying off in all directions, some of them directly towards the ship, a great many of them directly towards the ship in this explosion. Oof. For 56 damage and 28 damage. I rolled really high.
Ooh,
28 damage to everybody else.
All right.
Well,
I've
So
never been
about
happy
that-
to be level 7 in my life.
great campaign,
You've
everybody.
never
Nice
what?
playing with you.
So
I'm happier
who's
to be level
who's
7 in my life.
happier? who
Evasion.
goes down? Right?
Can I
Oh,
deflect any
yeah.
of this missile?
Yes,
I had 16
you can.
points of damage.
Hit points. Okay, so we've got Horson and Laguerre. Ebo, you had exactly. Did you say you had
No, I
exactly?
said I had
28?
16.
You had 16, so you're at 0.
I was at 28, so it exactsies me down to 0.
Exactsies. Okay. And Charlie, you rolled for your deflection what?
10.
Okay, which brings it down to 18. Does that take you down to 0?
Mm-mm.
No. You're on the back. You're like, okay, so
What I imagine happening is the shards are coming in, and she'll let go with her arms and just dangle, hanging by her legs, and really hope that her core is going to be strong enough to pull her back up, because otherwise she's in big trouble real soon.
your core is strong enough to like pull you back up a moment later, but like you have several shards in you, and as you roll back up, you can see that Horson, Laguerre, or Kasha, and Ebo now, they're not dead. I don't think it does enough damage to kill any of them. Horson, what's your max HP?
Well, here's with Horson, because he's a Mull, and Mulls have a racial ability that he would drop, but come back.
You have a relentless endurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. You're
So
up at 1, right?
you're up at 1.
Up at 1.
Laguerre and Ebo, this wave of bony shards like just crashes across the ship. It wrecks a large portion of the ship. The captain himself, the traveler himself, goes down, and the orb that he was holding on to just floats there, begins to turn multicolored once again. And you're both wounded. You're not dead. I like to say incapacitated. It doesn't mean that you're unconscious necessarily. It's just like you can't take any actions or move. You're hurt. You can still role play.
Is the healer and pseudo healer both down?
Possibly.
Okay.
And Dia, you core yourself to flip back up onto the aft of the ship, and you can see this ruin. I have 2 questions, because these are the 2 things besides wounded Laguerre, Traveler, and Ebo that Dia is going to see. A, how do we see Marilla completely avoid being hurt by this?
Well, we established that there's this whole chair setup, and Marula rolls over the armrest of the chair and grabs around the headrest so that they have the back of the chair as a shield as the obsidian slivers stab in. So if they were to turn around, they would see the chair itself absolutely filled with spikes. And I think at least one grazed through their arm for flavor. But they themselves are not. Bastamity.
Yeah. So there's just an entire wall of spikes where the backrest of the chair was before. And Dia, you can see Marilla as they sort of like look around, seemingly mostly unhurt. And then Horson, who's taken quite a beating in this encounter. How does Dia see you rise with your relentless endurance from the brink of death?
So I imagine how it happens is the explosion of shards, just like he's caught like an idiot, like unawares, because he was focusing on the shadow before and looking around for any sort of stray skeletons, ebony skeletons that might be like running towards. So his back just got pelted. So like there are shards just from the back of his head all the way down. Every sort of meat that he has on his body got penetrated. So he kind of looks like an echidna. And it like hits a nerve and he blacks out and goes down and like a knockout punch, like lands face first on the deck. And for a second there, he's gone. For a second there, like there's nothing there. But there's something inside of him that kicks in, that powers through the physiology of his body, and he pushes himself back up, completely unaware of what's happening, just knowing that he's in a fight. So, and he pushes himself back up to a standing position, and slowly and methodically, like he's beginning a training exercise, spreads his stance, lowers his stance, and where you can see his face, he's kind of, his skull is turning to where he may perceive threats, but his eyes have rolled in the back of his head, a la Rock Lee in Naruto. So his body fails, but his willpower is just driving the synapses in his nervous system right now. So all he is his muscle memory. There's nothing, no one's home, the lights are on, nothing's there. but he's up and like shifting back and forth, trying to perceive threats.
How do we find before we go back to Dia here? And how do you think, what position or what do you think we find Evo and Akasha Laguerre doing?
That was just obviously pierced by a whole bunch of obsidian shards. You're just gonna see like, his arms out, like he's just got like KO'd, and there's slivers in him, and you're just gonna see like the fading, cackling or crackling of the lightning. It's like starting to fade away, as I fade away.
What about Akasha or Laguerre?
I wonder, because I wonder how this affects Akasha. I mean, it's still her flesh suit, so I like to think that as she's blasted with the shards, she is stuck, like mentally in the same place with Akasha.
That Laguerre goes back into the mirror?
Yes, so they're both there just kind of fighting for who's going to come back out.
Let me ask you this. Do you think, where is the mirror on Akasha's body right now? Is it hidden? Is it visible? Is it out?
No, it's in one of her pockets. Like, she has all of her dresses have pockets.
So then we'll say maybe for Akasha's body, like it's not like she's breathing. That much would be evident. She's obviously very wounded, but she's just staring like straight out into the air, maybe, as this internally in the mirror, there's the battle between Akasha and Laguerre over who's going to get back the body. And which nobody would see, but I love that mental image a whole lot. Dia, you stumble back onto the deck of the ship and you see the wounded, you see everybody. What do you do?
I think she would call to Horson and Marilla to defend the ship. We have to get it to safety. And she's going to try and take control of the orb that steers the ship. Because she doesn't know what else to do at this point, and there's a magical orb, and she could do psionic things once upon a time, and she's going to try and take control of the ship. Because we need to move.
Okay.
There's too many people down.
Roll me first an intelligence saving throw.
Alright. Does it help if I say a little prayer to my little friend, the Lizard Queen? Hi, Lizard Queen. It's you go. Need a hand.
Absolutely. You can roll with advantage.
Thanks.
If you're offering an IOU.
Nat 20. And didn't need the advantage, but I've already done it, so it's cool.
So Dia, as you go to this multi-hued orb that's floating in the air, and you see the traveler's body like just barely moving, shifting, a trail of slime underneath of its arm on the floorboards beneath you, and you reach out and you touch this orb. You can feel, much like Evo before, your mind being pulled apart into different directions. And what does Dia use as her mental fortress here?
I think because this orb is the shifting through the colors, her mental fortress starts really small. It's literally the lantern, like the flame inside is shifting through those colors, and then as her mind is pulled, so the lantern expands and zooms. And in the middle of it is still this orb, and the orb is growing too, and it's breaking through the glass of the lantern maze. And through gritted teeth, she's hissing to the traveler, "Give me the ship."
And you can sense just a trace of his intelligence in the orb too, weak. And then it withdraws, perhaps willingly, or perhaps he's just too injured to hold on anymore. And when you do, for a moment, your minds touch. You see this vast cosmos, there's a solar system, which you wouldn't know what that is, but you can tell that these are suns, a blue sun and a red sun that's much smaller, but somehow also much hotter, and a fleet of these ships flying between two celestial bodies. And you can see glimpses of this entire civilization in the stars. And it's like you're being pulled up towards that, but with a natural 20, you're able to anchor on and hold on. And I'm going to allow you to do two things. One, absolutely, you can fly this ship. Two, I'm going to let you ask me 2 questions about this race, these travelers, or about where they come from, or about what they want. 2 questions.
Do I think they're more powerful than the 1T?
Yes.
Can I become Queen of the Universe?
I can't answer that. That's up to the dice.
I will be Caesar of the stars. Watch the worlds burn. It's got something better than Balic. Sorry, what's the second question I was meant to be asking about?
Whatever you want. Whatever you want about this race, or the intentions of the traveler, anything you want.
Can I trap the traveler in a soul jar the way I've done before?
Absolutely. It is a sentient creature, just like a human being. It's just a different kind of human being.
I think as Dia's mind expands and those prismatic colors of the orb reach the shattering of the mirrors, it's like a kaleidoscope. We see the stars and all of that. And she whispers to the traveler, making a deal. If he wants to live, she's got a special place for him to hide. And all the while, she begins to take control of that ship, figuring out how it moves, how she can move it. Because she has to get everyone's butts out of here before we're blown up by the Drake.
And the Drake, too, exploded. And the Drake is what's sticking out of your friends right now. What remains of the Drake.
Well, before there's any more, she doesn't know if there's more than one. Who knows? She doesn't know anything about where we are. I want to will this ship to the Obsidian Spire. We got shit to get done.
Okay. You touch the orb, and just like the traveler, you're able to turn it over in your hands, and you quickly figure out how to use it. And as you do, the ship begins to pick up speed again. When the traveler fell, it stopped, just floating in the air. As a matter of fact, maybe even like slowly drifting downward a little bit. But once you start to control it, it begins to fly towards that great tower that rises high into the sky, and you can see the purple light still shooting up into the air. I want to check in on Orson and Marilla as the ship takes off again. I'll say this too: Van pops up from a hidden compartment in the, like, he crawls out of, I think he smashed himself into the compartment that has the brain jars, like between the brain jars, and hid himself there. He crawls out, and he looks around. It smiles, beams a smile, presses a hand to his chest when he sees Marilla's mostly okay. And then he sees Ebo and Kasha on the ground, and he moves over to start tending to them, leaving for a moment, and near the back, Horson and Marilla.
Marilla is fiddling with an object in their robes, and staring down at their bracelet. And they move over to Akasha, and they take a deep breath, like when you have to reduce your own dislocated joint or something. And they pull out the orb that Ebo made them, and they'll cast Life Transference. Disable there. Akasha.
Oh, Yeah, so life transference necromancy spell.
Yep, this is gonna hurt.
Yeah, it's gonna hurt. Go ahead and
Uh-huh.
let's see what the damage is.
But fortunately, Meryl is the only one who didn't take any damage in the fight. Because they rolled on evasion.
Because they are.
Okay, alright. These should be good numbers for Akasha. I've been rolling 18s on dice all night, so that was another 18 on 4d8.
Okay.
And I need to make, technically I need to make the spellcasting ability check because I don't have the levels on my own.
Yep.
But we're fine.
Okay. So you're able to cast this spell, and as you do, using this obsidian orb, the runes that you've carved into it, those runes of that spell fade away as you cast probably the most powerful spell I think Meryl has ever cast before, right?
Easily.
And it's a level of defiling that I think you've witnessed, but you've never experienced personally. And you drain the life from yourself. You are able to channel it through your will, through your hands, into Akasha's body. And I believe that means that Akasha regains 36 hit points. Before we resolve what happens there, I'll say that Van does a much less impressive version for Ebo. It's just like a little. It's just like a little healing word. Ebo, you regain 7 hit points as Van uses preserving magic to take some of his life in a controlled way and give it to you. It's much less effective than what Marilla did because it's much less risky. But as you regain consciousness, Ebo, you see Van up above you, looking concerned, but when he sees your eyes open, there's a little bit of a smile there.
Oh, good job, young Van. Well done.
And I'm just going to start pulling out splinters out of myself. Yeah, I think that's where he looked just dazed and confused. Kind of knows what happened, but is kind of in the traumatic state of just like pulling splinters out, like just focused on that at the moment. Yeah.
Van says, "Oh, let me help you out with that." And he tries to help you remove splinters as well.
I'll stop doing it if he's gonna help me do it. I'm gonna stop doing it to myself.
Yeah, there's no reason to exert that much effort. He's a young FL. Horson, what are you doing right now? Before we resolve Akasha.
Horson, no one's home. His body's up, and he's going through like boxing combinations, just over and over and over again. A jab, a straight, a hook, an uppercut. Shifts position, a jab, straight, a hook, and an uppercut. He shifts closer to an open area where he doesn't see anybody. Jab, straight, hook, uppercut. Jab, straight, hook, uppercut. But if you were to see his face, his eyes are completely like rolled back in his head, and he'll do a dodge, and then he'll do like a bob and weave. Jab, straight, hook, uppercut.
This is going on like in the aft of the ship as everything else is happening. And at this point, Dia, the traveler, you're not sure if they're still alive or not, but they're at your feet, and you're sailing the ship through the sky just as easily as the traveler was, really, at least for now, a straight direction. And you can see the Obsidian Spire rising. You're sailing towards its peak, where that light is shooting up into the sky, and you're the first to see it. You can see that there at the peak of this great tower is a tree. It's very much alive, and it's larger than any tree that you've ever seen in your life. It's larger than Caesar's palace in Balic. And from its great green branches hangs many, many fruits and different color blooms. And attached to it at its trunk is some sort of device. You can't really make it out from here, but the top of that device is a crystalline in structure, and it's that from which the incredible purple light is shooting up into the sky towards the sun. There's a large, large platform, a large plateau at the top of this tower all around the tree.
I think seeing this tree, her focus on what it is she's doing, her mouth just falls slightly open and she cries. It's just overwhelming. It's not what she expected to be here. And it's nothing that she would have imagined. And then she'll close her eyes and just keep pushing the ship forward closer. But slower.
Is your intention to land on top?
I think get close. I don't think she's ready to land. Just
Okay.
get to it.
So as the spelljammer slows down and approach to the Obsidian Spire, you can all see now this bright light. You can see that you're very, very close. You're slowing down over top of it, and you can look down. Anybody who happens to look could see the tree. Say it's at this moment that Marilla finishes the life transference spell. And we have to find out when Akasha wakes up who is there. So for the two of them inside the mirror, that fight, it's like the mirror shatters for a second and it begins to reform that wall, that plane. And there's just a moment for one of them to try to get through that shattering glass before it's a wall once again.
I don't really want to know who makes it out. Laguerre is.
I was gonna say
Laguerre.
we can always have you open your eyes and say that's how our session ends tonight. We can find out next week.
Oh, I like that. Mystery.
Yeah. That's where our session ends tonight. We'll find out who wins the Battle of the Mirror next week. As Marilla uses necromancy in a potent way to save one, maybe two individuals stuck in Akasha's body. So thanks everybody for hanging out tonight.
Value.
Yeah, right? It's a 2-for-1. This was super fun. I loved getting to do a sky battle. That was crazy fun. Next week, we're going to get to finally see what's at the top of the Obsidian Spire and what we need to do to get home to Balic and save the day, if that's indeed what we're doing. But I loved seeing all their great choices, and just like with last week, such great character interactions and character moments between everybody. All these characters are so just so three-dimensional now after we've been playing them for a while, and just watching you all roll with it and have so much fun I could just watch all the time. In fact, sometimes that's exactly what I do. So thank you for that. Thank you for everybody hanging out in chat, keeping it fun. Thank you, moderators, for keeping it safe. Thank you to our sponsors, Dark Dice, Wormwood Gaming, Level Up Dice, and now Warriors of Waterdeep. If you are looking to play some D&D on mobile, go check out Warriors of Waterdeep. They're great friends of ours. We're working more closely together, and it's a great way to pass the time. So that's all for me. I want to go around in a circle and see how everybody's doing, if there's a moment they really liked, if there's something they are looking forward to, or if they have any cool projects they want to tell people about. And let's start this week going the other way. Let's start with Charlie.
I had so much fun today, doing everything. I'm super sick, so I'm really sorry if I didn't catch all my calls to the mute button. But it's all good because I get to be a badass monk woman who hides when battle happens and then busts out at the end and takes over everything with her mind. That's the secret. Yeah, here for Star Caesar, Laguerre / Akasha. We can have a conversation. You can have the planet. I've seen bigger, better things. We'll make a deal. It'll be fine. Yeah, no, I'm super excited. I started this whole season with the goal of making something magical. I think I can still do that before the end of the season. But in the meantime, I'm going to make deals with all the powerful entities in the universe because that's the only way to get your way. That's what I've learned. And yeah, you can find me on the internet playing games. I think that's a pretty good summary. Playing a lot of Red Dead Redemption roleplay, actually. If you want to join in that kind of a thing, go and check out wildrp.com. It's really cool. And I just got cleared to be an LEO, so I get to put on a white hat, as we call them, and be a sheriff/deputy. Very excited to do that.
What's an LEO? I'm curious. What's an LEO?
Law enforcement officer.
Got you. Yeah, of course. So Charlie, I've never done Red Dead Redemption roleplay. I don't really know what it means, but literally like 90% of the people that I play games with now are you've sucked them all in. So if you enjoy Red Dead Redemption, it is a lot of really cool role players.
Please just leave it there. Just leave it on the porch. Yes, this is it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Special delivery for Christina.
I just ordered food and like the guy was like, please don't ring the doorbell. And you're like, ring the doorbell. And I'm like, please just leave it at the door. My baby's asleep.
Priorities.
This is the game that always makes me hungry. This game, always.
Yeah. Every single time we get done, I am starving.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Christina Ariel. I do stuff and things on the internet.
Yay. Do you have anything upcoming that you want to shout out? Anything you're excited about?
I am still doing Into the Motherlands on Sundays at 4 p.m. on twitch.tv/Cypher here. It is extremely fun. Michael is also in that game with me, and it's a really great adventure. It's not D&D. It is Afrofuturism and sci-fi. It's great. I love it. And also on Mondays on twitch.tv/CNE Games, I am playing Improvised Champions with Mark Meir, who a lot of you know as Commander Shepard from Mass Effect. And we do a live play-by-play commentary of the Idle Champions game. As there's a playthrough, we do the running commentary, and we also voice all of the characters in the game as the Avant, our Masked Lord of Waterdeep, plays through. We do all the character voices. I got to play 3 kobolds in a trench coat this last week. It was amazing. I'm super excited about that. I will be on that high forever because it was fantastic, and you should watch it because it's creative and different and fun, and I'm in it, and I assume you might like me a little bit if you're here.
I think it's a good assumption. When is that? What day? What time?
It's right before Rise of the Veiled Alliance. It comes on from 1 to 3 p.m. PST. So you can get done with that and jump right into Rise of the Veiled Alliance.
Beautiful.
Obsidian Spire.
Amazing. Obsidian Spire. Perfect. Yeah, definitely check that out. I saw that you were doing that a couple of weeks ago, I think, or maybe it was last week. I saw it for the first time and I haven't gotten to check it out yet, but I really, really like that idea. Just like with Charlie's doing with Red Dead Redemption roleplay, just seeing other ways for people to do roleplay besides just TTRPGs. I think it's really, really interesting, and it's something I want to learn more about personally. So that's really cool. Sweet. How about Michael?
Oh, hello. I'm Michael Sinclair II. I go by Michael Grits everywhere. Yeah, today's session was really fun. I think my favorite part was just watching Charlie play Dia. Just like going through everything today, especially like the mind map stuff, and kind of like, I feel like Dia is like one of the harder characters to kind of peel back the layers and see what's going on. Like I still don't know what their intentions are, other than now star Caesar. So that might be their intentions. Everyone else has like, okay, solid motivations, I get it, but like DM, like I don't know. So that's always fun. Yeah, so I am in several things. I'm in Faeforge Academy podcast, which is a light, bright, super nice podcast. It's not PG, it's only R-rated because we say curse words, but it's PG as far as content goes. So and I play with a lot of awesome people there. We are constantly hitting like top of the podcast charts for like games, so that's kind of crazy. And then obviously I play Into the Motherlands with Christine Ariel on Cyfrontier's channel on Twitch. I play a non-binary character that's super important to me to like, I don't know, we just gotta see more of these types of characters in TTRPGs. So very happy, and I'm learning a lot. So wonderful character. And then I'm obviously here, and I'm a computer science student. So my own Twitch channel is being affected by that until school's done, and then but you can catch me on social media. That's where I am a lot of the times when I'm not studying and I'm supposed to. So that's it. That's me.
How are you doing? I'm curious, Michael. How are you doing on spell slots?
Actually pretty good.
Save some?
Because like most the spells I used I used a third level spell and a second level spell. I only used 2 spells there, I think, through that whole one cantrip, a second level, and a third level. So I have in order of first to fourth, 4, 2, 2, 1. So doing all right.
Good. Cool. I was just curious for reasons.
Yeah, sure.
Sweet. Yeah. Definitely check out everything that Michael's doing as well. Michael, are you streaming right now on your own channel? Are you streaming World of Warcraft? Are you streaming Magic the Gathering? What's your thing that you're...
I probably will. When this airs, I will probably be doing that. Magic the Gathering, not so much, because my focus is elsewhere. But I will go back to it. It's a great game, and it's also one of my loves. So, but World of Warcraft, you see me streaming? That's probably what I'm going to be doing for the next couple of weeks.
Cool. Awesome. Let's skip on over now to Bill. Bill, hello.
Hello, friends. I'm still in black and white, which means... Oh, damn it, Cord. You just damn it. Okay, thank you. Yeah, this was a real fun one. I'm a big combat junkie. I love Cord so much. I love you so much. I love combat, and this was a really fun thing for me because Don's amazing at creating creative combat experiences. I've been a player, fortunately, in his campaigns for a while, and he's done some really brilliant work on all fronts. But to just be inside that brain where he looks for inspiration for combat and stuff would be so cool. I love all of these people. Follow them, watch all their things. Every single one of them. Quit your job and watch them do stuff, please. I would appreciate that very much. If you want to follow me, I'm Bill the Forest on Twitter. I don't really give a rat's ass about any of that stuff, and I don't really do anything else. So this is I'm in a couple other shows, but I want to support all of these wonderful people. You know, that's really important to me, for people that I care about. I had something else I wanted to say, but it's gone now. Yeah, I thank you for watching. I love you. I'm getting really into Warriors of Waterdeep as a mobile game, even though Shadowlands was just released a little bit ago for World of Warcraft. But my favorite character, again, is Thomas. He's the best tank in your party. So once you get him, you start with him pretty early on. Don't choose anybody else. Leave him in your party. Is literally the best tank in the game. You don't need to worry about anything else. It's amazing. So there'll be some links in chat that you can go and download the game, start playing, and then make Thomas your best friend. And then maybe there's also a link for some potential rewards wink, wink, wink. So please do that. For Thomas, my favorite halfling fighter friend. I just love playing with this crew so much. They're so creative, and the green room chats that we have are awesome, and I live for them. Go everyone else. Internet stuff. That's it. I'm done rambling.
Yeah. It's all right. Great as always, Horson. I love I love the little nuances in the character. I enjoyed after you went down, you came back up, and as everybody else is kind of healing or dealing with the ship needing a new captain or whatever it was in the moment. This is just Horson in the back, and he's just throwing punches, right? He's just straight into the air. He's still fighting, and I just thought that was cool. Great visual there. And let's go last but not least at all, Sam. Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. Love a ballista, honestly. No, more specifically, right. I love that ballista. That ballista is now my spouse. I love it very much. I mean, assuming I have a shot with it.
It seemed to enjoy Marilla. It seemed to go pretty well. You know,
it's signs are promising for our burgeoning romance. If you want me to see me shooting things, doing rogue sneaks, and falling in love with various parts of starships, you actually can find that throughout the internet. That's kind of what I do for a living. I ship it. Right now, I think I'd like to particularly shout out Power Play. That is a superhero comic booky flavored TTRPG built on the Icons system over at Q Times, GM'd by Rick Budd. It includes B. Zelda and Omar Najam and Caitlin Bruder, and it's really a tremendous, wonderfully character-driven group. They're wonderful performers. Rick is really sharp. Really makes me use my whole freaking brain. So the whole first season of that will be up on Q Times YouTube, Q Times QUEUE Times. You can also find my full schedule of all of the places I shoot things and ship them throughout the Twitchernet on my Twitch about page. That's twitch.tv/Delevely, DELEVELY. I also want to very quickly shout out Bill, who is a delight to scene with all the time. All the time? All the time.
It is known. Yeah, definitely check out Power Play 2. I've only seen the first episode now, but I'm a big fan. I don't talk about this a lot, but I'm a big fan of superhero TTRPGs. I don't think there's enough of them. I always want more. That is where I first started playing TTRPG, was playing the old Marvel Heroes game from the 80s. And I still love that game. If I have right over here a Wolverine wig, I have the claws. I'm always I get excited about superheroes. So anytime I see somebody streaming that, I just think it's a really great thing to share. It's something that so many people who don't know TTRPGs, as well as others, maybe they can connect to it because they know superheroes. Everybody knows superheroes. So I thought it was really, really fun. I like that group a lot. So again, check out everything that these people are doing. They're amazing. I want to shout out to our partners from the Dark Sun community, from Athos.org and Bonestone Obsidian podcast, and the Dark Sun Reddit, and the Swords and Sandal Discord. These are the people who've taken Dark Sun and they brought it to 5th edition, and maybe Wizards of the Coast will too one day, but they've already done it. So if you want to play D&D in 5th edition, if you like this setting, you want to learn more, it's all out there. It's all free. People have done fantastic work and they're wanting to share with people. And I'm just very grateful that they've done that work and that they're keeping this setting that I love a lot alive. As for me, I'm Don. You can find me on the internet at Donathan Fry. I write and run games, always doing different things, always very busy. If you want to know more, it's all on Twitter. When I use Twitter, that's where it goes. But that's it for me. Thank you all for hanging out. love tonight's episode. Can't wait to see what happens next, as we only have a couple more left in this particular arc, this particular campaign. So I can't wait to see how it all turns out at the end. But that's it. Thanks, friends. Have a good night. Take care of yourselves. Bye.